can call to order the council meeting for March 27, 2012. This is a nice crowd.
Yes.
Standing room only. Would everybody like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I would like the roll call to reflect that Councilman Conaway is absent this evening on an excused absence, and the rest of the council is all present. And we're going to move on to item 4, which is approval of the agenda.
I move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 And Mayor, actually, we're going to ask that the minutes be pulled. And we're going to ask that the minutes be pulled and do them next time.
Okay.
Correction.
Is that item 7C or B, A, B, or C?
It's on consent.
Okay, we're going to pull item 7B for this meeting and bring it back at the next meeting. Okay, and now we're going to move on to some presentations and announcements. And item 5A is the first one, and that is a presentation by the high school track gate fundraisers. And do we know is that you? Come on up.
Good evening. Hello, I'm Sean Morris and this is Don Henderson. We're from the Rotary Club of Fillmore Sunrise. For over 3 years, there have been uncertainty if there ever would be public access to the Fillmore High School track after its renovation and installation of the all-weather track. Well, this changed on November 26 when John Scholl, a member of our Rotary Club, was struck on his nightly run. It became clear that uncertainty was not justifiable reason to keep the cost of the electronic swipe gate from allowing the community a safe place to walk and run. From near tragedy came the leadership within our club to get the track funded. Our club agreed to donate $2,000 and match up to an additional $2,000 to help raise $6,000 for the purchase and installation of the $7,800 gate. As always, our community stepped up to the challenge and exceeded our goal by $1,810. Our Rotary Club, the Seroptimus Club, the Lions Club, who was all represented here today, and the community raised a total of $7,810 for the purchase and installation of the gate. Special thanks goes to Joanne Archer, Cindy Blatt, Tim Hagel, Mary Joanne Arnold, thank you Mrs. Arnold, Ladera Fruit Company via John Weiss, Steve Conway, Fillmore Riverview LLC, Shirley Spittler, Marge Levard, Don Gunderson, Mr. John Hit and Run Scholes, Cops Running for Charity, the Seroptimus Club, Lions Club, who have already presented their $500 checks to the city, and Council Member Eduardo Gonzalez. With great appreciation of our community and the permission of our Rotary Club Fillmore Sunrisers, I'd like to present a check in the amount of $7,310 for the purchase and installation of the public access gate to the Fillmore High School track. We would like.
Is Mr. Scholes from the club? All right, thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that this is just phenomenal, the way the community pulled together to make this happen. And I know a lot of people put a lot of work into making this happen. I know John and Joan have been speaking to the council for a long, long time to make this happen. And as much as we have supported them, we couldn't come up with the money, but the rest of the community did. So it's really, the Rotary Club is great. Eduardo, I know he did a lot of work on this, so thanks to everybody. So I'm very grateful. Okay, our next presentation is item 5B, which is a presentation by General Manager Mark Lawler.
Mayor, excuse me, could we have Mark, you were going to do the presentations to the citizens of the year?
Okay.
And maybe Mr. Lawler has been kind enough to say that he doesn't mind going last, and I know we have a lot of people here for
All
that.
right, thank you, Mr. Lawler, for waiting. So I have a whole bunch of presentations for citizens, businesses of the year. You're going to hand them up to me? Okay, the first one I have is for Mr. William L. Morris. And this is commending William L. Bill Morris, legendary car dealer. I guess legendary means you've been around a long time.
Yeah. Of course, I'm alive.
And whereas Bill Morris is recognized as a legendary car dealer by the Board of Directors of the Fillmore Chamber of Commerce, and whereas the City Council of the City of Fillmore also wishes to recognize Bill Morris as a legendary car dealer, and whereas Bill Morris was born on the family ranch in La Habra on June 3rd, oh, this is for your dad.
No, it's my grandfather.
Or your grandfather. Okay.
I don't really age.
June 3rd, 1900, and at the age of 10, started working in a livery stable. I thought it was talking about you. As the janitor, night watchman, apprentice, and mechanic. And whereas that livery stable later became a Ford auto dealership where at 14 years of age, great-grandpa Bill sold his first car, and at age 22, he sold 122 new Fords in just 90 days, which at that time required the salesman to also teach the customer how to drive. And whereas in 1927, Bill switched from Ford to Chevrolet to become the franchise dealer in San Fernando, though soon after he moved his family to Fillmore, California. And this is where we all come in. Whereas at one time, the Morris Automobile Agency had branches in Fillmore, Moorpark, Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park, Santa Susana, and Simi Valley. And by 1939, the Santa Paula dealership carried the William L. Morris logo until the dealership was sold in 1973. And whereas for the past 8 decades, the Central California automobile history has benefited from the entrepreneurial talents of Bill Morris, and their new building in Fillmore was dedicated to Mr. Morris in honor of his contributions to the industry. And while Chevrolet celebrates its 100th year, we are celebrating Bill's 98th year of selling his first car. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Gail Washburn, Mayor of the City of Fillmore, and on behalf of the Fillmore City Council, do hereby recognize William L. Bill Morris, Sr. and Jr. as legendary car dealer, and do hereby ask all those present to honor and congratulate Bill Morris for his legacy of high integrity, trust, and loyalty, and for contributing to a healthy business environment in the City of Fillmore, the last best small town in Southern California. Woo! Reina Arellano, is she here today? Well, I won't read the whole thing, but I'll just say that this is a commendation for Reina Arellano, who is the 2011 Fillmore Teacher of the Year. And she works at Fillmore Unified School District for 6 years and currently teaches 4th grade at Mountain Vista Elementary School. And she is known and respected by all students and staff at Mountain Vista School. So she's not here, but congratulations to her. Oh, Miss Marie Wren. He's handing these to me in no particular order, but I would have to say this is my favorite.
Now you'll embarrass me.
Sorry. This is commending Marie Wren. This is a Lifetime Achievement Award for Citizen of the Lifetime in Fillmore. And whereas Marie Wren has been bestowed the honor of 2011 Lifetime Achievement Award Citizen by the Board of Directors of the Fillmore Chamber of Commerce, and whereas the City Council of the City of Fillmore also wishes to commend Marie for achieving the recognition of 2011 Fillmore Lifetime Achievement Award Citizen category. Marie has always been involved in some aspect of community service, including being a very active member of the Senior Center and was instrumental in keeping the Senior Center viable. And whereas Ms. Marie is Fillmore's volunteer historian, saving treasured memories of life in Fillmore by recording the citizens' recollection and even writing books. And Marie was a docent at Rancho Camilo's Museum and was involved in the restoration of the Rancho's family buggy built around 1853. And whereas Marie has served as president of the Seroptimist International Fillmore from 82 and 83, and again in 92, 93, 94 when she started the Bike Path Cleanup Project. And whereas Marie was also president of the PTA and helped start the popular Halloween Carnival, and each August she donates school supplies to our local school to help families that do not have the resources to purchase them. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Gail Washburn, Mayor of the City of Fillmore, and on behalf of the Fillmore City Council, do hereby recognize and commend Marie Wren as 2011 Fillmore Lifetime Achievement Award Citizen category, and ask all those present to thank Marie for her service to this city.
Well, as I said the other night, I've been involved in a lot of different things for a long, long time, but not a single one of them did I do by myself. Oh, they can hear me. Oh, I see. That's right. I haven't been here for a long time. I forgot I only come so I can get on television. But I've had wonderful support from both my family and all the people in Fillmore. So it's not a one-man show by any means. You know very well that it takes everybody working together to be successful. So be a part of your community, work and accomplish something. And I think seeing the presentation of the check to have the electronic gate on the running track at the high school is just, this is a great night to do it, because we all appreciate how much we can accomplish by working together. And I thank each of you for helping me. Thank you.
And we can't forget to mention her partner, too, her other Lifetime Achievement partner, Jean, who's no longer with us, but
True.
okay, next is Deputy Gabe Gonzalez. Come on up. Commending Deputy Gabe Gonzalez, who's Fillmore Police Department 2011 Police Officer of the Year. And whereas Deputy Gabe Gonzalez has been chosen as the Police Officer of the Year by the Fillmore Chief of Police and the Ventura County Sheriff's Department, and whereas the City Council of Fillmore also wishes to recognize Deputy Gonzalez for achieving the distinguished honor of Police Officer of the Year. And whereas Gabe graduated from the Police and Sheriff's Training Academy in May 2006, and his first assignment was at pretrial detention facility, and whereas Gabe worked in the classification unit, gaining valuable knowledge about gang culture and narcotics abuse, and assisted many officers with special operations while working in the jail. And whereas Gabe transferred to his current patrol assignment in March 2009 and has become one of the most productive and diligent deputies at the station, where he has also trained and been vital in curbing gang activity and narcotic use in our community. And whereas Gabe was instrumental in revitalizing and encouraging other deputies at the station to get involved in the Sheriff's Explorer post, where he is currently a lead advisor and enjoys teaching and mentoring explorers. And whereas Gabe was born in Ventura and is married to his lovely wife Lori, there's a typo there. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Gail Washburn, Mayor of the City of Fillmore, and on behalf of the Fillmore City Council, do hereby recognize Deputy Gabe Gonzalez. Okay. Rob Rolfe. This is commending Rob Rolfe, Fillmore Volunteer Fire Department 2011 Firefighter of the Year. Whereas Rob Rolfe has been chosen as the 2011 Fillmore Firefighter of the Year by members of the city's Volunteer Fire Department and the Board of Directors of the Chamber of Commerce, and whereas the City Council of the City of Fillmore wishes to recognize Rob for achieving the distinguished honor of Fillmore Firefighter of the Year. And whereas Rob started his EMS career in 1986 and has been working as a paramedic for the past 25 years, you don't look that old, and moved to Fillmore and joined the Fillmore Fire Department in 1999. And whereas Rob was one of a handful of paramedics that volunteered their time to help retired Chief Pat Askren start the Fillmore Fire Department's volunteer paramedic program when Santa Paula Hospital closed its doors in 2004. And since then, Rob and all of the men and women of the Fillmore Fire Department have been providing excellent EMS service to the citizens of Fillmore. And whereas Rob is married to his lovely wife Tammy, and they have 5 children, Kaylee, Tyler, Evan, and Janie, and Jordan. And whereas Rob serves on the fire department where he risks his life and limb to protect lives and property and give medical care to those in need, and his love and dedication for EMS and firefighting for the City of Fillmore made it easy for his peers to elect him as Firefighter of the Year. And now therefore be it resolved that I, Gail Washburn, Mayor of the City of Fillmore, and on behalf of the Fillmore City Council, do hereby commend Rob Rolfe as 2011 Firefighter of the Year and ask all those present to congratulate Rob and ask him. And thank you, please. All right, Brianna Vasquez. This is to commend Brianna Vasquez, 2011 Fillmore Police and Sheriff's Explorer of the Year. Whereas Brianna Vasquez was chosen by her peers as the 2011 Fillmore Police and Sheriff's Explorer of the Year, and whereas the City Council of the City of Fillmore also wishes to commend Brianna Vasquez for achieving the recognition of Fillmore Explorer of the Year. And whereas Brianna is the daughter of Leo and Barbara Vasquez and has a young brother, Danny, and she graduated from Fillmore High School in 2011 and currently attends Ventura Community College and plans to transfer to UC Santa Barbara and major in art history. And whereas in 2010, Brianna became a member of the Santa Clara Valley Explorer Post 2958 and attended a 4-week academy where she and her peers attended law enforcement classes and performed physical education exercises similar to those used in training at the Ventura County Regional Training Center. And whereas Brianna is seen as a leader in the post and is currently a sergeant performing her details and assignments with no hesitation and infectious enthusiasm. And whereas a few of Brianna's accomplishments include she performed 438 hours of community service, assisted Fillmore and Ojai deputies with DUI checkpoints, was an actor in the Every 15 Minutes DUI presentation at Fillmore High School, participated in the Relay for Life in 2010 and 2011, volunteered for traffic control for the May Festival and Christmas parades, volunteered at the North Fillmore Storefront Toy Giveaway for the past 5 years. Been very busy. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Gail Washburn, Mayor of the City of Fillmore, and on behalf of the Fillmore City Council, do hereby recognize Brianna Vasquez as 2011 Fillmore Police and Sheriff's Explorer of the Year, and ask all those present to congratulate Brianna and thank her for her dedication. Busy girl and a student too. Vanessa Villa. This is commending Vanessa Villa, who is the 2011 Fillmore Student of the Year. And whereas Vanessa has been bestowed the honor of 2011 Fillmore Student of the Year by the teachers and administrators of Fillmore High School, and whereas the City Council of the City of Fillmore also wishes to recognize Ms. Villa for achieving the special and coveted honor of Fillmore Student of the Year. And whereas Vanessa served as the secretary of Mecha Club, which celebrates Hispanic heritage and culture, at the same time she was president of the Fillmore High School S Club, the high school division of the Seroptimus International of Fillmore Group. And whereas Vanessa has demonstrated selfless leadership through her participation in Relay for Life, Fillmore Piru, Arthritis Walk, clearing the Fillmore Bike Path, and helped with the Peace Pole project, which included teaching and making hundreds of origami cranes for peace. And whereas Vanessa is committed to doing her best in all she does, including tutoring students in many subjects, including math, and was instrumental in helping with the annual Seroptimus Fashion Show, luncheon, and silent auction event. And whereas Vanessa is a good leader, being very organized and professional in all she does, and always has a smile on her face and is willing to lend a hand wherever she can. Now would therefore be it resolved that I, Gail Washburn, Mayor of the City of Fillmore, on behalf of the Fillmore City Council, do hereby recognize Vanessa Villa as 2011 Student of the Year, and ask all those present to honor and congratulate her. Come up as being the Seroptimus president? This is the Seroptimus selected, the Seroptimus select. Thank you very much. Lord? We have a lot of outstanding citizens, don't we? Okay. This is commending the Fillmore Lions Club, 2011 Nonprofit of the Year. There's a lion, there's a lion. Whereas the Fillmore Lions Club has been bestowed the honor of 2011 Fillmore Nonprofit of the Year by the Board of Directors of the Fillmore Chamber of Commerce. And whereas the City Council of the City of Fillmore also wishes to recognize the Fillmore Lions Club for achieving the recognition of Fillmore Nonprofit of the Year. And whereas the Fillmore Lions Club was chartered on August 15, 1927 and is part of Lions International, the largest service club in the world with over 1.35 million members and 45,000 clubs in 206 countries and geographic areas, where they encourage service-minded men and women to serve their community without personal financial rewards, and encourage efficiency and promote high ethical standards in commerce, industry, professions, public works, and private endeavors. And whereas a few of the programs the Fillmore Lions support are the City of Hope, American Cancer Society, the Braille Institute, Fillmore High School Sports, Band, Drama, Grad Night Live, Fillmore Elementary School PTA, Surgical Eye Expedition, Lions, Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clara Valley, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, One-Step Program through Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Fillmore Lions Scholarship Fund, Lions Student Speakers Foundation, Lions Club International Foundation, as well as cleaning a portion of Highway 126 and sponsoring the Fillmore Christmas Parade and donating to the track gate. That's not on there. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Gail Washburn, Mayor of the City of Fillmore, and on behalf of the Fillmore City Council, do hereby recognize the Fillmore Lions Club as 2011 Nonprofit of the Year, and ask all those present to congratulate the Lions Club and thank them for taking an active interest in the civic, cultural, social, and moral welfare of the city. here from Attraction Spa? No, I know April or Sean is here, but they got 2011 Fillmore Business of the Year, Attraction Spa. And they're probably hard at work. It's one of my favorite places to go, get a facial or a massage. It's great. I hope everybody goes down there and takes advantage of the good service that you get there. I'll read a couple of the things it says about them. Their second year of business, they started 2 years ago. There's 3 of them actually, Sean, April, and Brenda Bush, certified massage therapist, all. And they offer Swedish massage, deep Swedish, therapeutic, hot stone, foot reflexology, facials, etc. And Sean and April have donated many hours of time to local 5K walks and health-related events here in Fillmore, and have given many donations in the way of gift certificates to any nonprofit, local, kid, teen sporting events and fundraising activities. So I want to thank them, even if they can't make it. For being business leaders. Okay, Mr. Buddy Evaristo, or Evaristo Buddy Escoto. Is he here? Okay, well, Mr. Buddy Escoto is 2011 Fillmore Citizen of the Year, and he's a lifelong Fillmore resident and a product of Fillmore High School, graduating from Fillmore High in 1994 and from Ventura College in 1998 with an AA degree in liberal arts. He's also attended Cal State University of Northridge, where he majored in sociology. And he started working for the Boys and Girls Club in 1995, where he's worked for 17 years. Buddy believes that the future is now for the youth in our community, and that as role models, we should teach children to reach for the stars. And whereas Buddy has been part of many civic and community groups in Fillmore and throughout Ventura County as an advisor and a volunteer, and he's been married to Selena Escoto for 12 years, is the son of Evaristo and Mary Lou Escoto, and is their oldest and only son, growing up in a family with 6 sisters. In his downtime, he enjoys spending time with his wife, traveling, DJing, photography, and walking his dog, Rocky. So, congratulations, Evaristo Buddy Escoto. Okay, I think I'm done. Thanks, everybody, for your patience.
Thank you to Ari Larson with the Fillmore Chamber of Commerce and Miss Laura Sato from the City of Fillmore for coordinating this.
5-minute recess and then we'll come back. Okay, let's call the meeting back to order, and we'll continue on with our agenda items. And right now, we're going to move on to item 5B, which is the presentation by General Manager Mark Lawler on Ventura Regional Sanitation District Services. Good evening, Mr. Lawler.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. It's a true honor to be here tonight, and it's great to see all the citizens of the community and all the great effort you have from everybody that supports your community. It's really nice to be here tonight. I'm not sure I know how to run the PowerPoint presentation.
Hold on. We have 911 up.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to tell 911 first.
Get my tech guy out here.
We'll get it going here in a minute. Do we have any extra copies of this presentation?
The handouts are in the package, and Clay already handed out copies of the
Oh,
package.
okay, everybody just go.
So, I think,
I saw Clay what he was up to. That's for the presentation of Mark's work. No, I have.
I have a copy. If you'd like me to start, I can just start and kind of refer you to the pages so we don't, if it comes up, we can kind of, would you like to do that? Sure. Well, thank you again for being here. My name is Mark Lawler, and I'm the General Manager for Ventura Regional Sanitation District. And we try to get out once a year and go to all member cities that participate in our board and just, tell everybody who we are and what we do, because the city councils do change out, the seats once in a while. So the first slide that you see in front of you is like, who is VRSD and who are we? Well, we are a public agency. We were established in 1970 under the County Sanitation Act, under the Health and Safety Code, Section 4700. We're a unique special district. As a special district, we are a public agency, but we're service-based. And what's unique about us is we have no tax base. So unlike many other government entities, we get no tax dollars from anybody. So all of our fees are collected as revenue from either our landfill operations or services that we provide to member agencies such as yourselves, the cities, and other special districts. Who we are, this one's a little tougher to show you on page 2. It's who is VRSD again and who makes up our board. Our board, we have a 9-member board, and of the board, 8 of those appointees to the board are representatives from 8 of the cities in the county. The 2 cities that do not are not represented are the cities of Moore Park and Simi Valley. And there's one member that's elected from 6 special districts who meet once a year, and they get together and vote on who as a member will sit on our board. So we have a 9-member board, and we do provide quite a few services. Again, I'm not going to go through all these. You can read them, and I'm not going to read each of those. The Toll Road landfill is our largest single facility that we operate. Most of you are familiar with the Toll Road landfill. It's situated between the city of Fillmore and the city of Santa Paula off Toll Road. Landfill was opened in 1973. It has a current, it was expanded in 1973, I should say. Or no, I'm sorry, it was expanded in 1996. It has a current capacity of 1,500 tons per day. And we do operate that facility in compliance with over 30 permits, not only from the county, but the state and the state specifically. The benefits of having a local landfill, specifically one that is owned and operated by a public agency, are listed here in front of you. Some of it, we do believe very strongly that if you look statewide at landfill filling operations, whenever there's a public entity involved, that the landfilling costs of operations tend to normalize, because as a public agency, we don't operate for profit. We operate just to run as a public service, and so that tends to keep all the fees for other landfilling operations kind of in check. Counties and areas that don't have a public owned option, the fees are substantially higher. One of the other big projects that we have going right now is the biosolids drawing into renewable power. Some of you may have heard about that project. That's a new facility we put online several years ago. I'm just going to continue on. The biosolids drying facility is a regional facility that has 2 major components in it. One is the biosolids dryer. Most of you that aren't familiar with biosolids, it's the solid material that's left over after a wastewater treatment plant operation. Historically, many of the counties and cities in Southern California, throughout all of Southern California, used to export the material into Kern County. Several years ago, Kern County took up it wound up being a voter initiative, but initially it started out with legislation that failed because they were trying to block the importation of biosolids into the county. Los Angeles being as big and as powerful as they are, they kind of blocked that legislation, so then the voters took it upon themselves to have a voter initiative, which is still going on. It's pending. It's in the court system right now. It's being fought out in the courts and the legal system. But several years ago, the county, VRSD specifically, frankly, approached our member agencies and said, look, this is a problem, it's going to be a problem, it's not going to go away, and we have a regional solution. So that's how this project kind of took hold, and we do have a facility online right now. We do take about 70% of all the biosolids in the county currently, and some of the real award-winning accolades we've gotten for this project. We've taken almost 1 million truck miles off the road with this project, and everything in the project is recyclable. We don't use any power off the grid. We use landfill gas to power everything. The water that's evaporated off the process is reused as dust control, so it cuts down on our pumping of the local aquifers. And the solid material that's produced at the end of the day is actually a fertilizer material that we're actually in negotiations with right now with several fertilizer companies to take that as a product that they can use. So that project has won not only local but state and federal awards for its economic and thoughtfulness. Sorry.
You might want to mention that there's not too many of these processes in the United States.
No. In terms of a regional process, Ventura County is the first in the nation to approach this from a regional perspective. So that's one of the other reasons we've won a lot of awards for this, is this county is the only county in the country that has looked at this as a solution on a regional basis. There's other plants that are about the same size as ours, but they operate at very large individual single treatment plants. But truly, Ventura County has the ability to go to recycle this material from beginning to end, and we're the only county in the country that we're aware of that's doing that right now. The other piece of that doesn't quite get as much accolades, but we do, the remainder of the methane gas that we have coming off the landfill, we do use in 9 microturbines, and 6 of those microturbines produce power that we export to Edison, and that helps us offset the cost of operating the landfill. We generate a little over $1 million a year in electricity sales to Edison. Along with some of those projects, some of the other services, we do provide wastewater treatment options. We provide wastewater treatment plant operations to municipal, private, and industrial applications. I'm not going to, you have your own treatment plants. But some of the things that I covered tonight, you're a full service city, you have a lot of your own staff. Some of the services that we provide you don't use on a full-time basis. But it's nice that we just let you know that we do have these capabilities, and if you ever do need us, we're available. So we do, one of the other options we do that you do use periodically is the collection system and maintenance. We do have the ability to, respond to things, line cleaning, cleanups when there's spills, lift station maintenance. We have a full range of service and mechanics and electricians that can do this type of work. Manhole rehabilitation, that's something that we got into about 3 years ago. This is one of our fastest growing areas of our business sector right now. What we do is we go in, especially in the coastal areas where the manholes have a lot of corrosion due to the saltwater intrusion. The manholes deteriorate over a period of time. A lot of the cities are older, and that manholes have deteriorated to a point where they're not usable. Instead of replacing these and digging them out, which is very expensive, we have a method we invested in some equipment that we can go in and actually rehabilitate these in place. And that's been a pretty successful program, especially with the city of Oxnard and Ventura right now. Water distribution, again, we run several water treatment systems. It's nothing that you haven't heard before, but we do have the ability, we have trained operators to do both the lines and the treatment plants, so we can do all of that if that's ever something you would need. Paintings and coatings, this is probably one of our, next to the landfill and the biosolids, this is our next most sought after service we provide. A lot of the facilities that have old infrastructure, mostly for water and wastewater treatment plants, tanks, things of that nature. When we talk about paintings and coatings, this is really industrial painting and coating. There's special materials that require special certifications to apply. And we have the trained technicians that have those state and national certifications to do that type of work. Environmental services, I'm going to kind of lump a lot of these together. The environmental services, I'm going to just put water quality monitoring, stormwater, and all that into one category. Several years ago, the director of our operations, Sally Coleman, she started the stormwater program at the County of Ventura. When she retired, but she came out of retirement to come and work for us to be my director of operations. And with that, several of the county employees came over. They wound up leaving the county and coming over to the district. So we have a very strong stormwater and water quality monitoring program to the point where the county hires us to do a majority of their work right now, because the folks that we have set up their entire program and built the installations in the creek and riverbeds. And so they're very familiar with the whole county, because that program is a county-wide program that the county administers. So we have a lot of the staff that actually set those programs up. So that's something that is that we actually have fully booked at this point, but we're looking to hire 2 more people in this area right now because this is one of the services that, as the regulations increase, this is in high demand right now. I'm just going to go to the administrative services. We do provide administrative services to some of the smaller districts, utility billing, accounts payable, accounts receivable. We can do pretty much anything you need to. Again, the smaller districts that we help service, the small special districts, they don't have staff, and so we do supply a full range of services to them. And the last slide pretty much talks about it just shows the primary services that would probably be of the highest value to you. Again, you're a full service city, you have full-time staff, you have a lot of the services that we provide, and you don't need them, but these are probably the primary ones that we would be able to help the most with. And in closing, the one thing I would just like to say is the role that we try to fill in the community is one of, we're not here to displace your staff, we're here to augment your staff. The things that we excel in, that we do better, are the things that you are temporary. When I say temporary, what I mean is seasonal, like stormwater type monitoring, stream bed monitoring, things that are paintings and coatings, things that you need that you don't have full-time staff because there's not full-time work for them. But by partnering with us and using our services that way, what we can do is schedule you along with the other member cities in the community to help balance that out so you don't have to have full-time staff. And we act as an extension to your staff because we are a government agency. There's certain considerations for contracting with us that are a little unique. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have. I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Lawler? I do have a question. Thank you very much for that presentation. I enjoyed it. And do you have like a price list that you can share with staff, or how do we know what your costs are?
Yeah, we do have a rate sheet. We bill out just like any other private entity because we have to compete with private businesses. So we do have a billing rate sheet that we can certainly send out. I'm sure we can get that over to you.
Okay, I'd love to see that.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
Thank you.
very much.
Have a nice evening.
Okay, our next item is public comments. And I do have a couple of speaker cards. This is a time for the public to come up and speak on items that are not on the agenda. And I have a card for Miss Norma Amaro. New business antique shop.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Norma Amaro. I reside at 165 Kasner Way in Fillmore. I'm here to introduce Kimberly and Rick Nance. They are the new upcoming owners of Fox and the Hound. So you can imagine which is the fox and which is the hound. It will be Fox and Hound Treasures and Antiques, located at 324 Central, next to Mike's Taxes, 2 doors down from Vintage Pleasures. 8 years ago, they came into town from Simi Valley, and within one day, they found a real estate agent, they found a home, and they purchased it. Within one day, they stayed in Fillmore. Kimberly is the fox in the title, and she is well known for her custom orders of unique jewelry pieces made with semi-precious gemstones. Rick is the hound in the title, right here. Always searching for unique furniture pieces. He puts love and passion into his pieces. Unreal how he can salvage old historical pieces and bring them back to life. Rick is in the medical field. Together we are working to make Fillmore a destination. We're working to get Central into vintage and antique shops. We get many, many people that come as tourists always asking for more and more of these shops. So adding one more to the list makes it really awesome. So if you have any questions for the fox or the hound, they're all yours.
Well, thank you, Norma, and welcome.
Thank you.
And we wish you a lot of success in your business.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you started.
We're looking forward to it. We're excited.
Oh, have you opened up, when is your opening day?
June 1st.
June 1st? Okay, good.
She's also the brains besides the fox.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, my next speaker card is also from Ms. Norma Amaro. Okay, good evening.
Good evening. You know who I am now. Hi. I would like to introduce Vanessa Monica Marie Pereira. She is both an author and an illustrator of The Pirate and the Mermaid Curse. It's right here. It was published, it has been published by Ex Libris. How do you say it? Ex Libris. Vanessa is 23 years young. She has attended school in Fillmore and in Ventura, and she lives in about 3-minute walk from here. 25 books were ordered for a special book signing, which will be held at Vintage Pleasures. The date will be announced in the paper. However, due to an error, just the same type of error that J.K. Rowling had, when the book was published, they didn't proofread it. So just like J.K. Rowling's, the first issues of the book that come out that were not edited are going to be worth a lot more money eventually than the next one. I'm very proud of Vanessa. She's a very sweet young lady. To be 23 years old, reside in Fillmore, and she is both the author and an illustrator. She's a very sweet young lady, and we hope that you all come to the book signing. You get to meet her, and basically I'm just here to introduce her to our city of Fillmore. That's all you ever have. You're welcome.
Can you please repeat the date?
Well, we're not sure
Oh.
yet. It'll probably be sometime in April or May. Probably in May, and I will let you all know the date of that. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Vanessa, that's quite an accomplishment.
Oh, her illustrations are unreal. I'm sitting back here. I can't believe I related to her. I mean, it is gorgeous, this book. And she says this is for age appropriate from about middle school through high school. Yeah, she's targeted that. So, thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Vanessa, turn around. Not me. Here, honey. Hold the book. Let me get out of the way. It says Pirates of the... What is it? Pirates and the Mermaid's Curse. Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is Ms. Ari Larson.
Hello, my name is Ari Larson. I'm the first vice president of the Fillmore Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of the Fillmore Chamber of Commerce, I wanted to thank the city of Fillmore for their support of our honorees by their presence at the community award dinner that we had last week. It was a full house, we had great food. Thank you to Rico Landeros, our fire chief, Brian Sipes in attendance, and the great MC, Bill Herrera from State Farm Insurance, just to name a few, because everyone really pulled together. So thank you. We're looking forward to next year. Also, I would like to invite the council members and the community to the Fillmore Flower Show. This is a long-time tradition that Fillmore has hosted, and it will be presented by the Fillmore Vision 2020 Civic Pride on April 14th and 15th at the Fillmore Senior Center. To kick off the event, Sir Optimus International Fillmore and the Friends of the Library have teamed up to present a reading and craft program on Wednesday, April 4th from 4 to 4:30 at the Fillmore Library. The book, Planting a Rainbow by Lois Ellert, will be read by Janet Foy, and after the story, the children will be making miniature flower arrangements to take home. The program is free for school-age children, so we hope that the community comes and either to the reading program or brings their arrangements to the Fillmore Flower Show. And so I see you already have them, so thank you very much.
Is the reading program at the Senior Center too, or at the library?
The reading program is at the library. Yes. Any questions?
Questions? Ms. Larson? Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I don't have any more speaker cards for public comments. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Mr. Stroh? Oh, and Mr. Rigo.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam Mayor, and council members. In his realities piece of the Fillmore Gazette, Martin Farrell recently fantasized to his readers that if Measure H and I had not passed, we would now have 700 new homes in North Fillmore. A new road from there to the north end of Central Avenue, and the doubling of traffic on all streets coming out of North Fillmore. Oh wait, he left the traffic and hillside drive parts out. Just the new homes that he thinks would have been built would have provided revenue that would greatly ease our current financial bind. Irrespective of the fact that these measures were the most discussed issues in the city that I'm aware of, with the need for 2 petition drives, each getting around 1,500 signatures to put them on the ballot that was easily passed by the voting public, Farrell is pretending that the 4 of you accomplished this great feat all by yourself. That would exclude you, Eduardo. I got my numbers wrong. Farrell must think that the 1,500 petition signers and the Fillmore voters are incapable of independent thought. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Farrell's fantasies found that you 4 are responsible for the Wall Street and banking failures, global warming, and the housing market collapse. The housing market collapse. Farrell fantasizes that the North Fillmore plan would have been immune to the collapse, that buyers would eagerly shell out an average of $600,000 per home, and that the taxpayers would gladly give up $40 million to subsidize the low-cost housing in the plan. In reality, if measures H and I had not passed, the weeds would still be there, and people would still have lost money, as people have all over the city. Weeds are in the vacant lots in the approved bridges project, in the vacant lot of the approved apartment project east of Bonds, in the vacant lot of the approved project over by King Street. But Farrell is just interested in the weeds in North Fillmore. Weeds, not homes, exist all over the city because of the housing market collapse. But Farrell is telling his readers that the North Fillmore project would have been immune to the housing collapse, and asked them to fantasize along with him that H and I are to some degree the cause of our financial problems. Most of the people in Fillmore live in the real world. Many have lost their jobs and are having a tough time making their mortgage payments, paying their sewer bills, etc. We know why the city's revenues are down and why the city is going through a painful time of uncertainty, just like many cities. We also understand the hardship that has been placed on all city employees and are aware of the sacrifice they have all made due to the economic downturn. And we also know that you all are doing all that can be done to work through this period as responsibly as you can, and we appreciate your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stroh. Did you want to?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. I just want to remind the public that this Saturday, March 31st, from the hours of 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., we'll have the citywide cleanup day. My apologies, I failed to put that in the local news medias last week, but it will be printed out this week. But I just want everybody to know in TV land that this Saturday between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. we'll have City Cleanup Day. In addition to that, on April 7th, which is the following Saturday, Good question. It's on Good Enough Road between A Street and B Street, right across the street from Amron. Well number 4, I think they call it. So if you want to beautify your neighborhoods or just clean up your yards, those of you that, like myself, that need to clean your yards a little bit, that's a good day to take advantage of this free service. It's a free of charge to the citizens of Fillmore. Also, a week from Saturday on April 7th, we have Household Hazardous Waste Day as well. That will be at 711 Sesame Place or at the City Yard. And that gives you the opportunity to get rid of any old paint, light bulbs, batteries, anything that's what we consider a household hazardous waste. Again, no charge to the citizens of Fillmore as well. So, and those hours are from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Okay, any questions?
Any questions for the Chief?
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on an item that's not on the agenda tonight?
Mayor, we'd just like to remind everybody that City Hall is closed on Thursday.
Thank you. Yes,
Caesar
Thursday, Cesar Chavez Day, City Hall will be closed. I do have one other announcement I wanted to make. Fillmore High School is having an art show, musical performance, and drama on April 17th, 6:30 to 8:30 at the Veterans Memorial Building. This is student art and photography exhibit, jazz and concert band performance, drama and poetry club performance. So that sounds pretty cool. April 17th. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to the consent calendar, which consists of item A, C, and D.
Move to approve consent calendar for items A, C, and D.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is a voice vote. Councilman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Mayor, we were going to correct those minutes.
We pulled those.
Okay.
We only did A, C, and D. And then we're going to move on to item 8A, which is mayoral appointments to the Redevelopment Dissolution Oversight Board, which is formerly known as the RDA. And this is the city manager presentation.
Yes, and this will be brief. As you know, the state did away with redevelopment, and so the process is rolling forward, and it is time to form the oversight board. The city is the successor agency for the housing function as well as regular function. And the oversight board is a 7-member board that is going to oversee the selling of the RDA assets. A variety of people and organizations get to have spots on that board. It's a 7-member board. The city gets 2. As it turns out, the county gets 3. There is the school district gets 1, and the community college district gets 1, and there's also a member from the public. And so the item that you have before you are the people. The mayor has volunteered to serve on the oversight board, and there needs to be a person who is represented. And these are called for in the statute. So it's Norma Gutierrez, who is a member of Local 501, as well as the city treasurer. She's volunteered to serve on the board. And the mayor would be the other city member. And in the interest of being transparent, and also because it's a tradition here to bring forward the nominations to the council for input. That's why we're making you aware of who on the city is being suggested for it. And if you have any input or comments, the mayor is available to hear those. And then she'll need to go ahead and announce her appointments. Today, I have found out that we have a little bit more information. The county's taking action tonight or today on theirs. It looks like they're going to ask the Board of Supervisors to appoint Jeff Burr from the Deputy County Executive Officer from the County of Ventura to our Oversight Board. And since the largest special district is the watershed protection, it looks like they're recommending that Janice Turner be appointed to the board. We've been notified by the school district or the county department of education that Dr. Mike Bush, that's their recommendation. And then we have our 2 recommendations, and that's all the people that we know about at this point in time. And the statute says that you have to form the board by May 1st. Last week, the Department of Finance sent out a letter, and they're asking us to have the board meet and adopt the WAPs, all these financial documents you've been seeing, and then submit it to them. As you may recall, statutorily, you don't have to have the board done until May 1st, but the Department of Finance has made this request, and so the city, along with other jurisdictions, are trying to honor that request. You only need 4 people to have a quorum, so that's what and we do have people have a quorum with the people that I identified, so that's what we're proposing.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gray. Does the council have any comments on this?
So you said someone has to be represented. What does that mean? Someone from the union?
It does.
Okay. I knew the answer. I just asked these questions. I don't understand.
I appreciate Ms. Gutierrez standing up to accept this appointment, and I'd be happy to appoint her. Any other questions or comments? I will say it's my understanding that there are 19 properties, city formerly owned by the RDA, that will be administered by this oversight board. Is that correct? 19. So, and I also, I think the statute calls that you have to have a chair appointed for the oversight committee by May 1st. So the sooner we can have a meeting, the better. So let me know whenever any of these others are ready to meet, and I'll be available so we can select the chair and keep it all going. The sooner the better. Yes. So we don't need to take any vote or anything, do we? I'm just going to,
No, if you want to go to, you want to know the responsibility, go for it. No, I appreciate you. That's very important, 19 pieces of property.
yeah.
So actually, we have 3 people from Fillmore whom you think Mr. Bush too, actually, which is good.
And the clarification, it's not only property, but there are some, for example, there are some loans that the city has, and people are making payments on them. We have some of the, for example, we're renting out the space over at the Fillmore and Westland, the Heritage Valley Tourism Bureau. So there are agreements that are out there that are going to have to also be settled. So it's not going to happen overnight, and it'll probably be a long process to do all of this. And there is some legislation winding its way through the Assembly and Senate now, because they, as we talked about before, everybody putting their property up for sale at the same time isn't exactly good for prices. So they are, the legislature is doing some more fix-it legislation.
All right, thank you, and thanks again to Norma Gutierrez. So now we're going to, is there anybody who wishes to comment on this item before we move on the Oversight Committee appointment? Okay. We're going to move on to item 8B. This is, we're going to receive the 2011-2012 mid-year budget review. and adopt resolution number 12333.
Rico, do we need a minute to get this set up?
We'll find out in one quick second.
Okay. Pause, everybody.
Cross your fingers and hold your breath.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Thank you for your patience while we get our technical difficulties resolved. And I think they've done a good job getting it fixed. And Ms. Linda J. is ready to proceed with her presentation on the mid-year report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council, citizens. You have before you both a staff report and a presentation. So my presentation is a summary of the staff report. And so you have before you the mid-year presentation. And one of the things that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is how we got where we are. Everybody has seen this graph before. It shows that in 2009 we had more revenue than we had expenditures. In 2010, our revenue decreased to about 5 million. Our expenditures stayed at 7 million. Again, in 2011, our revenue was about 5.7 million. Our expenditures were 6.9 million. And in 2012, we thought we had a balanced budget. And in reality, we're looking at about 5 million in revenue and about 6 million in expenditures. So each year, we've had to either use reserve money, beginning balance money, to be able to operate. And as you know, we had our deficit last year, and that deficit will continue into this year. The budget was officially adopted on June 28th. On January 31st, the agency was eliminated and the city became the successor agency. Tonight we've appointed some members to the oversight board. Tonight we're doing our mid-year review, and by the end of June we will have adopted our 2012-13 budget. And at that time there will be adjustments again. As every month goes by and additional information is available as far as actual revenues, actual expenditures. My numbers will change when I give you the 12-13 budget. There's actually two major fund groups that we're going to be talking about in this report, and that's the city operating funds, which includes the general fund, special revenue funds, the enterprise funds, debt service funds, and capital improvements. Our estimates for the 2012 and 13, which is attachment 7 in your staff report, includes all funds. And we made certain assumptions to come up with the balances and projections for 2012 and 13. And when we do the 12 and 13 recommended budget, those numbers will be refined. One of the biggest issues is going to be what is our sales tax going to really look like between this year and next year. Our report shows that we had beginning audited numbers. We started with current assets of 3.3 million, restricted liability reserves and liabilities of 2.8, which actually resulted in a beginning balance of about $500,000. This balance does not include the general purpose reserve of about $899,000 that we carried forward into this year. In the adjustments that are shown in attachment 2 of the staff report, there's an actual net decrease to revenue of about 1.1 million. This includes decreases in property tax in lieu, our sales tax in lieu, which comes through the state and is administered by the county. The state has said we will not be getting any of that money this year. That was $140,000. Our sales tax, I had budgeted $670,000. Because of the mitigation issues, as you all know, our first quarter we had a negative $717,000 in sales tax. So even though this quarter we got $99,000 in sales tax, still we'll pretty much end the year in a negative position overall. We do have an increase in our transient occupancy tax, which says a lot for our local motel, and in our solid waste franchise fees. We have decrease in the development fees of about $25,000, fireworks enforcement, interest earnings, as I think you're aware, Life is still paying 0.38% interest on our money. So I had predicted that interest rates would go up, and my predictions didn't come true. We did get the EMPG grant. That money did not come in last year, so was not able to be recorded last year. It did come in this year, so it's helping with our revenue this year. Our homeowners property tax relief.
You have fire written in there,
Yes, it's a fire grant that happened last year.
so it's put to the fire.
I'm just for TV land, that they would know when this particular grant, or whenever you come to any kind of grants like that, if they're specified, maybe you should spell them.
Right, this was actually for expenditures that occurred in last fiscal year.
Right.
Okay.
So it's
For fire.
retroactive, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
retroactive. Filming is down, so we have a decrease in fire filming fees, and police special services. Decrease in our planning fees, building and construction and plan check fees, engineering fees. We do have a $30,000 increase in legal. JAG grant that Monica was able to get for us, and it helped with gangs. City clerk, a minor decrease, and other building fees, we actually have an increase. We are now charging for inspection overtime, so we've created a revenue account for that. I'm projecting about $7,000 for admin fees from the successor agencies, and our transfers in from the RDA, a negative $180,000. This is part of that elimination of the RDA and the decrease in the revenue. We do have a net decrease in expenditures for the general fund. I'm happy to report. I won't go through all of these. A lot of them are salary and benefit savings because of vacant positions that we have had. We did have a decrease in the fire paramedic stipend. They didn't use as many people as they had projected. So we do have some savings there. Rigo also told me there was a savings in the Ventura County Fire Dispatch. And the sheriff's contract, which we had budgeted at a 5% increase, actually came in at about a 3.1% increase. So there is some savings in the sheriff's contracts. Again, salaries and benefits. We do have an increase in the budget called economic development. That was part of the RDA and now is going to be part of the general fund. So there's some salary and benefits there, contract services, graffiti supplies, and film commission supplies and memberships that are being charged there. Decrease in the expenditures in building and safety, and a decrease in building maintenance and some utility savings in the park for a total general fund a negative $221,000. The amended budget, which shows revenues and transfers in, is $6.1 million. We have recommended changes to the revenue of $1.1 million, giving us about $5 million in recommended revenues and transfers in. Our expenditures and transfers out are about $6.2 million. Recommended changes $221,000, giving us an amended budget of almost $6 million in expenditures. And so in the amended budget, there's a decrease in revenue over expenditures when in the originally adopted budget there was a zero. Most of that has to do with the $47,000 that the state took away from the city and then gave back to us as a COPS grant that could only be used for a gang officer. So We see that in our amended budget, $954,000, almost $1 million in the decrease. So our general fund revenue expenditure gap of about $954,000 includes transfers in of about $1.8 million. And in the 2012-13 budget, we will have no transfers from the RDA. I'm projecting about $288,000 in sales tax revenue for next year, and also one-time money. The state had taken money from us, and they're supposed to repay us in 2013. That's about $439,000.
So you're talking about sales tax?
No.
What is the money from?
The state, it was called Prop 1A money, and the state took it from us in 9/10, I believe it was.
I guess what I'm asking is, where is the money generated from?
From the state. The state's supposed to pay back the cities that they had, I think it was 3 years. And yeah, they took the money from us in 9/10 when they were having financial problems.
Yeah,
and
they
were-
borrowed from us.
They borrowed from us, yes. And so
But
the
I guess
state's
what I'm
supposed to
asking is,
repay
what
us.
is that, they didn't borrow from our general fund, so what did they get? I guess I missed that. I thought it was property tax.
Well, they called it Prop 1A, and they took it from
From what they would have paid us from property tax?
as a
Okay.
loan, yeah.
I see.
And then they were supposed to repay us
Gotcha.
in 2013.
Right.
I have that included as one-time revenue in our 2012-13 budget. Some of the increases in the 2012-13 include a transfer of about $96,000 for the fire engine lease. Last year that came out of the DIP fees, but the DIP fees could only pay a certain amount. It's now the general fund's time to kick in and start picking up the lease on the aerial. The sheriff's contract is expected to increase about 2%, which will leave us a gap of about 1.5 million. So the bottom line is that we don't even have sufficient revenue to support our basic public safety services. This graph shows the difference between your 11-12 and your 12-13, your revenue projected to go from 3.2 to 3.7. That includes that one-time $400,000. Transfers in will decrease from about 1.8 down to about $1 million. So we'll have total decrease in revenue of about $300,000 projected at this point. Sheriff's contract, we're projecting to be about, go from 2.9 to 3 million. Fire services, we're projecting to remain the same. And other general fund expenditures and transfers at this point are projected to go up about 100,000. This leaves us with about 6 million in expenditures in 2011-12 against 5 million of revenue, and in 12-13 we're going with about a 1.5 million projected deficit. This graph just shows the
Could I ask a question? On the, going from 2.1 to 2.2 on the general fund expenditures, what's that other 100,000?
that's about your fire engine lease.
Okay. And so that we could only use the disc one time?
No, we could use up to 300,000, but we've used 300,000 to pay for the lease on the fire engines. So
What's the total lease on the fire engine?
I don't have the number in front of me. Regan, do you know?
I believe it's roughly about 700,000 to 800,000-ish. I'm not,
And so new development, the new discs, we're only supposed to pay a percentage of it, like 40%?
I believe so.
Correct. Okay, thanks.
This is our 2011-12 general fund revenue. About 43% of our revenue comes from taxes. 37% came from transfers in, And the other major is the charges for services, which is about 7%, and your intergovernmental, which is about 7%. And our expenditures, our police and fire, come in at a total of about 65% of our budget. I did include this time a separate, I did not include legal in admin. You can see legal is about 5% of our budget as expenditures. In addition to the general fund, there are other funds, as you know, that have been running a deficit. The recreation fund ended 2012 with about a 75, will end 2012 with a projected $75,000 deficit. You can now decrease that by $7,810, which just came in. Thank you very much. So that will decrease our, decrease our negative. So that is very good. We appreciate that. With the continued annual deficit, the recreation's running about $25,000. If it continues, we would be at an ending balance in 2013 of about $100,000. The swimming pool has a beginning deficit of about $232,000 projected as of June 12. It's running about $77,000 deficit each year, which would leave us a projected negative balance of $309,000, which brings us to a projected deficit in 2013 of $1.9 million for all three of those funds. There are minor changes in some of the other special revenue enterprise funds. There's the reason, and I know it looks funny to see a $50 charge in local transportation. The reason that happens is that is revenue that came from the county. If I do not include that on the expenditure side, and we spend even $50 over our budget, the auditors write me up as saying that we have expended more than our budget. So I know it seems like a small amount, but I've included it here so that we can spend that extra $50 and not be written up in our audit report. We have CDBG money that's being reallocated. Originally, we had $70,000 coming in from the RDA, which we're not going to have now. CDBG has come and said that the money that was originally allocated for the Veterans Memorial District could not be used for that project, so they reallocated it to the tot lot at Two Rivers Park. So the net change in that revenue is about $100,000. The housing fund includes, this is the new fund because the city has become the successor agency for the housing. I'm proposing to move about $100,000 in there from our existing housing money to cover the last loan on the Cabrillo unit, which we are obligated to and are committed to by agreement. So I put about $100,000 of that housing money to cover the $50,000 loan or grant, escrow fees, attorney fees, and so and the other revenue is from loan repayment. The sewer, we actually had a inaccurate projection for last year's revenue. So when the actuals revenue came in, there was a decrease in the amount of revenue that we're actually going to get in the sewer fund. So this includes that decrease in service charges.
And is that because people are delinquent in paying?
That's part of the reason, but also there was an optimistic, and as you all know, I was very new last year, and there was an optimistic projection of what sewer revenue was going to be, and so I just added the increase to that amount, which ended up not being a realistic number. And so I'm adjusting that revenue down. And the opposite happened in the water fund. Yes.
Linda, I know you and Yvonne and your staff were working on having the bond covenants tested. Has that been done yet?
It's what each year we're required to do the
You do the calculation to make sure that you're meeting the bond coverage.
debt service ratio.
Right.
Debt service ratio.
Yeah, I started debt service ratio, yes. On our sewer bonds, we're required to have a 1.15. We were at 1.17. So
Squeaked in, huh?
squeaked
Okay.
in, yes. And Standard & Poor's was reviewing our sewer bonds this year. We had to send them a lot of information and also have a telephone interview with Standard & Poor's. They are going to be reviewing the information that we sent them and will let us know if there's going to be any change in our bond rating.
So if we don't meet that ratio, they change the bond rating possibly. That's the worst case scenario.
Well, if they change our bond rating and downgrade it, then that could cause, it also puts us in technical default on our bonds if we do not meet the ratio. So if we're in technical default, other legal things can kick in.
Linda, one question. You guys ask every year on this item, but do you have a rough estimate of what our delinquency factor is for the water and sewer bills?
I have a slide a little later on that I'll talk about that. And we do have an actual increase in the water service fees and a transfer in. We completed the A Street water line, and there's about $49,000 that's left in that project. I researched, the money did originally come from the water fund, so we will be transferring that $49,000 back to the water fund. Recreation and pool, we've seen a decrease in the rental income from, I don't know why the pool's on here actually, on the recreation. You're gonna have to excuse that. This is just recreation. And recreation and pool, I'm sorry. Both of them, and I grouped them together. There's been a decrease in the rental of our parks. There's been a decrease in the rental of our community center. There's also been a decrease in the number of participants in our sports programs this year. And there's also a decrease in the revenue in the pool based on actual usage and compared to last year's actual numbers. So there's about $20,000, $250,000 reduction in rental and income fees in the recreation and the pool funds. The diffs actually have an increase. We have the Fillmore Groves that had a deferred contract so that they didn't have to pay their diff fees until they had certificate of occupancy, which happened this year when RE/MAX went into their building. And so they are making monthly payments on those diff fees. So there's diff fee revenue and some interest revenue off the repayment of that loan.
Was that an outstanding balance of roughly $500,000 that was deferred?
Kevin, do you know the exact amount?
No, I don't.
No, I don't know the exact amount. Right.
I'd like to get some information on that.
Sure. And then the reserves, which is our general purpose reserve, we have about $52,000 that's supposed to come to FEMA from reimbursement on the 2005 flood. And I had to decrease the transfers and the reduced interest earnings that we had projected. So the total net adjustment to all the operating funds is about $911,000. And the expenditures and transfers out, you see the same $50. You see the increase for the Two Rivers tot lot transfers. The expenditures that we're projecting, which include salaries and benefits in the housing fund, and the obligation for the loan. Sewer, we have a reduction in expenditures due to salary and benefit savings, some reduced maintenance, and there's also a transfer out to the sewer project fund. There was about a $9,000 negative cash balance left in that fund at the end of the year. And so since we're trying to close that fund out at this point and everything's going into the sewer fund, we want to get rid of that negative balance. We have decreased expenditures in recreation and pool, but we've also moved the senior nutrition program from the senior center budget to the recreation budget. So there are increased expenditures there for salaries, benefits, and supplies, which are offset by the revenue for the grant for the senior nutrition program. The DIP fees, I've included some admin charges to the general fund for administering the loan that's being repaid, and also transfers out. And the reserves, we had a vehicle replacement fund that had a negative $19,616 in cash. So we've transferred out the amount from the general purpose reserve to cover that negative amount that's been carried for a couple of years. So the total net adjustments to all operating was about a negative $65,000. Here's your slide, Brian, on utility billing collections. As everybody is aware, we've started a program of going back and looking and running the aging reports. We ran an aging report on inactive accounts. Those are accounts that have closed. Some of those accounts go back to 2002. The total of that outstanding was $241,000. At the time, our outstanding receivables were about $743,000. So that's like 32% of our outstanding receivables were just inactive accounts.
So it's 32% of properties that are not using sewer now.
Not necessarily. People could have closed their account, moved, and not paid their closing bill, but somebody else has signed up for service and currently has an active account.
Okay.
Right. We then went in and we ran an aging report for all the active accounts because I wanted to see the difference between closed accounts, outstanding balances, active accounts. Active accounts over 90 days is about 84,000, which is about 11% of our outstanding receivables.
A good example would be when I purchased my home down in Riverwalk, it was a foreclosure. And I keep getting a bill that says the previous owner owes $500 every month. It keeps coming back, $500. So it makes me wonder, all the other homes that are foreclosures are just lingering around, and that's affecting the true ratepayers who are paying their bills. Because someone has to pay for it in the long run.
In the long run, someone has to pay for it. You also were starting to come across several accounts that actually file bankruptcies and have bankruptcy which dismisses their balances. We will be bringing information back to you in May. We've just kind of started this process. As you can see, last month, ran the reports as of the end of February. So we have started an active program in trying to collect delinquencies, to try to clean up accounts. But I know that we're not going to be collecting anything that's outstanding from 2002.
One more question. When going back to the total outstanding, 743,000, every month that's fluctuating, correct?
Correct, depending on the billing and who pays and what kind of adjustments that we're doing. We're trying to clean up a lot of the accounts.
So over half of those are less than 90 days? Over half of the
Right.
743?
Yes.
Okay. Or,
A little more, yeah.
gotcha. But not 90 days?
So in the changes between the 2011-12 adopted budget compared to the mid-year, the big change is the beginning balance. And the reason that increased from 0 to about 518,000 is because we found out that the theater actually belongs to the redevelopment agency. So last year we had made sure and kept the money for the negative amount that the theater made, so that that wasn't available because that was going to need to be paid, used to be paid the theater negative. That's now become an RDA asset and not a general fund obligation. There was also a prior period of liability that was sitting on the books that said we owed CalPERS like $120,000, and in reality we didn't owe that. So when the final analysis came, we ended up with more money for our beginning balance to help offset our negative for this year. So the adopted budget was 8.5. The amended budget, the beginning balance is 9.7, a difference of 1.2. The revenues and transferred in for the adopted was 18.4. The amended is 17.7, a reduction of 700,000. The expenditures and transfers out were about 19.3. The amended is about 19.2. And this is all operating funds, so that people understand this is the enterprise funds, CDBG funds, special revenue funds. Capital improvement projects, we don't have a lot of those this year. The transfer to the sewer fund, to the sewer project fund from the sewer fund was about 9,000, and then we had the change in the park fund, which has deleted the transfer from the RDA, but it's increased with the transfer from CDBG to the top up for a net change in capital projects of about 250,000. In expenditures, I decreased the parking lot project by 5,000 so that it's in alignment with what its actual beginning balance was. We carried forward $185,000 for the ball field project. Per council's policy, carry forwards for projects that aren't completed are included in the budget, and then they're approved by council at the mid-year process. And then we have an additional $250,000 for the Two Rivers top knot. We've had some legal services regarding the business park infrastructure fund, so I've put $1,000 in that budget. And then we have the transfer to the water fund from the 8th Street water line that we had talked about. So the amended budget, we had started out with a 0 balance in the adopted budget. We're actually going to end with about a 1.5 million carry forward in the capital projects, or projects that were not completed. Fillmore Redevelopment Agency. I've included this even though we really don't have any say anymore in what goes on with the redevelopment agency, just so everybody would have an understanding of what happened. It was eliminated on January 31st. All the assets and liabilities will be transferred to the successor agency. And the information I've given you is just for information only. The redevelopment agency low mod housing fund function was eliminated. The city became the successor agency for housing. You saw the new fund for that. The estimated balance in the RDA housing fund is about 2.3 million. At this point, there is legislation abounding to try to decide what's going to happen with that 2.3, if it's going to the county, if it's going back to the state, if it's going to the new housing successor agency. Nobody really knows. So it's sitting there in limbo at this point.
It's not coming to us.
Huh?
But it's not coming to us.
Well, yeah, there is legislation proposing that the balance go to the successor agency.
And also, we are actually going to keep the money to meet debt service, no matter what.
No matter what, we're not giving it up.
Right, because other jurisdictions are doing the same thing because it's imperative that we meet our debt service obligations.
For the RDA.
Right.
Former.
For the bonds.
For the
I mean,
19 property.
No, I don't think that the 19 properties necessarily, some parts of them may have some debt service, but it's more that we have these bonds that are outstanding that we need to make debt service on. And what happened is when the state did this, the timing of it doesn't mesh with when bond payments are due. So we needed to take the actions to make sure that we have that money available so that we can meet our obligations. And again, this is not just Fillmore, whole lot of successor agencies are going to have the same problem, and they're getting similar advice.
Just a technical question, so was that money put in a separate account with a successor agency name? And obviously that couldn't happen because you don't have the people in control yet.
They actually opened a separate checking account and a separate money market account for the successor agency, and that money has been transferred into that account and is sitting there as a separate.
So the successor agency, which is us, could pay loan payments, but in the long run, an oversight board is going to be looking at all those actions.
Correct.
Looking at the properties, but the oversight board isn't going to have anything to do with the bonds. The bonds are.
Yes, they will.
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
Which is like 120 million.
No, what they'll have to do is with the bond payments, they're responsible for the rocks and all those financial schedules that you saw that have been coming before you, like I don't know how many times have we.
Yeah, the EOPS and the amended ROPS and the ROPS and the initial IROPS and, yeah.
So they're going to be the last.
They're going to be the last, well, actually, the state is actually going to be involved in that also. The successor board is supposed to look at what we proposed as a successor agency, determine whether or not they agree with it or not.
Right.
If they agree with it, then it gets forwarded to the county and the state, and both the State Department of Finance and the State Controller's Office. And each of them will look at it individually to determine whether or not they feel the obligations listed on there are proper or not.
So
It's got
yeah,
several levels.
the timely payment of these things is going to be tricky.
Yeah,
Because of organization.
they're not going to question, I don't think, any of the bond. What they're going to question are some of the other obligations that we may have put on there, and say whether or not they feel that is a legitimate obligation, the successor agency. So I've given you just kind of a little overview of what happened with the redevelopment agency. As you know, we started a beginning negative balance in the Central City account. With the successor agency, that's all going to get lumped into the new successor agency fund. So the net effect between the Central City and the debt service is about 1.2 million. And our debt service payment that's due between July and December is about 1.2 million. So we always want to make sure that we've carried forward enough money to be able to make the debt service payment. So as the successor agency, what we do is we provide staff support to the 7-member oversight board. So we'll be the ones that will be responsible from a staff standpoint of setting up the meetings, providing the agendas, providing the input, providing all the information on the property. Kevin has run title reports on the property, and then the oversight board will be looking at all that information and making a decision about the disposition of the assets and payment of any of the obligations that were listed on the ILOPs.
Is there administrative fees paid for that?
The minimum administrative cost, which is on your next slide, is $250,000. And so that's, we've budgeted salaries and title reports, legal fees, contract services to help us as a city support the oversight board. Yvonne had alluded to a change in the way the county will be making payments. And it used to be that we received our property tax and tax increment in December and May. The new law states that we will receive it in January and June. So where we used to have money in December to make that just debt service, we're not going to get that money now until January. So it's imperative that we keep cash so that we have money to make those debt service payments. One of the things that we have is you guys have a 2006 tax allocation bond anticipation note. And it has a balloon payment in May of 2013 of $885,000. That's another reason why we're holding on to that low-mod housing fund money, because we want to make sure that we have enough revenue to be able to make that balloon payment. We have the town theater deficit of about $391,000. The other question that no one knows the answer to is the $2.4 million that the state paid, that we paid the state for the SERF money. We paid that out of the housing fund. And the debt service fund was supposed to pay that back within 5 years. So there's now a question on whether or not they're going to be paying that $2.4 million to us as the successor agency, or whether or not they're going to say, no, we don't want you to pay that $2.4 million because we want the $2.4 million to stay in property tax. So legislation is pending regarding that issue also.
Can I ask, what was the bond for the balloon payment? What was the bond for?
It was a tax anticipation note, and it was something that was refunded prior to my coming. Anita was active in that, and it's my understanding whatever you issued it for, you weren't using it. So because of the debt of the agency.
Was that the $8 million?
Yes.
That was assigned for the, it was assigned to the sewer.
Yes.
But there was no need for it, and there was no assignment for it. And so she came up with that, so we paid off the bond, and then this would be the interest?
No, this is the
payment?
final principal, because it was originally like a $9.4 million.
Yeah, so this is connected to the sewer?
Yes.
Okay.
As Yvonne and I have both alluded to, there's many bills sponsored in the legislature to try and clear up some of the unresolved issues regarding the elimination of the redevelopment agencies. From my calculation, it'll probably be 2015 before the city sees any money from the elimination of the RDA because of the amount of debt that we have. So with that balloon payment next year, in 14, that money is going to be committed to paying the debt service. Whatever's left out of 14, if there's money that's available, then we may in 15 see some of that money come back to the city as property tax. But it isn't one of those short-term, yay, we're going to get this money back really fast. So the state thinks that they created something to generate a lot of money for the state. From what we're hearing with most of the redevelopment agencies, most of them are in a similar boat where they have a lot of debt and not necessarily enough property tax increment to pay that debt. So it's going to become very interesting. So the successor agency has its own new fund, and it had a beginning balance as of February 1 of 0 at this point. By the end of the year, it will have 1.2 million, or the end of 13. We've got revenues and transfers in projected this year of 3.7, next year at 4.8, and those are just projections. We've got expenditures in 11-12 of 2.5. Next year we're projecting 4.8, which will hopefully leave us that beginning balance of 1.2 to pay the debt service between July and December. There's now a new fund. It's called the RDA Retirement Obligation Fund. The county will send us the money in June. We have to put it in this new fund, and then from that fund we transfer it to our successor agency fund. So they've added another level of accounting. We have the town theater, which has a beginning negative balance of about $391,000. Even with the reductions in closing the theater, we have about $6,000 in revenue from the rents. We have about $12,000 expenditures, and so our ending balance this year is about $397, going to about $404 next year if those expenditures continue, or depending on what the oversight board determines is going to be the disposition of the town theater. So as we go into working on the budget for 12 and 13, I will be looking at all the numbers. Our major concern, of course, is the economy. The state of California's budget was, I don't know if they're going to come up with another creative way to take money away from us. And we've got the resolution of the state sales tax issues, which has been brought to you. And so we need to make some decisions on balancing this year's budget and actions that are needed to carry forward into balancing the 13 budget. Tonight, the recommended action before you is to perform the review and provide direction to balance the mid-year budget and the 2013 budget, and to adopt resolution 12-3330 and authorize the city manager to make any recommended budget adjustments.
Well, thank you. That was a good presentation. You're welcome. Any questions for the finance director?
Comments?
I have comments. Well,
Do you have comments for the finance director or just for the council discussion?
no, for our discussion, maybe some.
Because I have speaker cards that I might call up.
Okay, I have comments for the director.
Okay.
I've been in this process, what, three years now, and this is the clearest explanation I've had so far. Thank you. It's, I appreciate it, and you're very talented. And to think that this clarity came at the time when financially the state and our city is anything but clear because of the dissolvement of the RDA. You put in a whole lot of work to make this seem that simple and clear, but it wasn't simple and clear to figure it out, was it?
No, I'm not sure some of those projections for next year at this point are
no,
even.
but I appreciate both the city manager and the finance director putting in lots of work on this. And the news isn't good, but it's good work.
I agree. You did a fantastic job, and I know you did put in so much over the holidays on the sales tax, and then you had to jump into this. And now you get to start on the real budget, on the regular budget. So.
Yeah, this is very good. I can only imagine how many hours that we put in on this. Couple questions here. On the town theater, okay, obviously it's closed, and we have a debt of $400,000 in there. The theater the parks, the pool, have we ever explored the possibility of bringing any revenue by either leasing or just getting a sponsor, a private sponsor to help us with this? Have we ever explored that possibility?
That issue has been brought up this year. I don't think sponsorship was brought up last year. Was it brought up last year, Brian?
I did mention it
Right.
as a conversation piece that I was interested in seeing looking at the graph here of the maintenance combined of Parks and Rec and swimming pool. It was a little over $307,000. So, for example, if we had a sponsor who took over the maintenance of the pool, that would be $238,000, whatever that line.
The ongoing is
conveys.
about
So-
77,000.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's something that I thought. There's many facilities in Oxnard, in Tura, and I know in other cities that do instances where they'll go for Bank of America. They want to advertise, or a hospital. Maybe there's a hospital that want to take be active in the community. So it's something that we have to be creative about because, sorry.
I don't want to see us having to cut any more public services and Parks and Rec. We just can't endure that. So I think we need to be creative. Eduardo, I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of my sticky notes that I wanted us to entertain. So, thank you.
Also, what is the status of the sewer plant? Is somebody, are we managing that? Or is somebody, American Waters is managing, or what's the deal?
American Water runs the plant, and we have a contract with them, and so we pay them monthly for their running the plant.
I'm just wondering, and I don't know the status of that contract. I'm just wondering. We had a wonderful presentation today from a private agency that apparently do a wonderful job in recycling and selling. And they have billing, they have absolutely everything. Maybe the possibility, have we ever explored the possibility that we can look for somebody to manage the water plant that will do it cheaper for us and we can save this money? Have we ever done that?
No. I think that American Water it has been talked about before by the council, but in terms of an analysis, the answer is no.
It's one of the things, probably, I'm going to bring it out a little bit later, but one of the things that I see is we have this big mess about a tower a few months ago, a tower that wants to be put in all these kind of things. Well, all right, put them on, but put a big sign. It says Verizon. I don't care about that, but we need $100,000 a year. And they will do it for advertisement. They do have the money. I think that I'm making my numbers over here and I'm trying to, maybe I'm over exceeding my numbers, but we can bring this money. We need to be a little, okay, let me make a disclaimer here. I am not saying that you guys have not been doing a great job. I mean, with the number of people that is in the city doing the work, I'm wondering how you guys do a lot of this work. With that disclaimer, we need to start looking, and this is for the council a little later, how can we get this money outside? Hey, if we have to put a sign in the fire trucks that says Amway, it's okay, they're going to give us the money to keep the truck running. I'll leave for a little later. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you.
Let me just make a caveat with that is that we cannot do that now with any property that was the redevelopment agency. We can't do it with the properties that are ours. But we can't do it with
That's right.
the theater anymore because
Not at the moment. Right.
Well, because someone else is going to oversee that.
Absolutely, but we have some other places that
Yes.
have opportunity for that.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Linda. I do have a speaker card. Oh, did you have another question for Linda? Okay. Cindy Black, for 8B.
Hello. Good evening, my name is Cindy Blatt. I live at 1186 Oak Avenue. And I just had a couple of questions and comments on this part of the agenda tonight. I just thought of this as you were going through this, but the pool was built with redevelopment money, I believe.
I think it was partly redevelopment money, partly DF money.
So it's not, would not be considered
It's not, no.
a redevelopment
It's not.
agency property. Okay.
Good.
That answered that. Then my next thing I wanted to point out, if you go to your staff report on page 66, the very bottom is the swimming pool, and the very last item says swim team rental. And the comment has something to do with the school district. Well, that item really in the past has never had anything to do with the school district because the school district never paid to the city to use the pool. It had to do with private club renting the pool. And so I'm looking at this and it's not showing a payment that was made by Heritage Valley Aquatics on October 24th, 2011 of $300. So somewhere that went somewhere else.
Sorry, Cindy, what was the name?
Heritage Valley Aquatics, it's a statement or invoice number 6622, and it was paid on October 24th, 2011 by Cheryl Barn, who was the owner and coach of the team. And I realize it's only $300, but you know, $300. And then my last thing is a question about, I believe that it's a question about reimbursement from the pool contractor when we had the leak. And wasn't the city going to pursue getting some reimbursement for water and chemical costs because of the leak caused by the pool contractor? Maybe I don't remember that correctly, but I got the printouts from the pool from the finance director, and I've been going through stuff, and I haven't seen anything about that. So I'm wondering what that.
The contractor did pay for the repairs to the pool, and he has been billed for the chemicals and the electricity.
Has he paid it yet?
No.
Okay.
Is he disputing the bill or just waiting to pay?
I think that I will have to ask Annette what the status is, but I know that he did pay for the repairs and he was billed for the other.
Okay.
So I have to find out where that is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other council? Does anybody else want to speak on this item? I do have some cards for 8C, which is the next item.
Madam Mayor and Council, my name is Gary Kriegel, 330 Central. I hope the Gazette takes note of a professionally done mid-year budget. I compliment the staff for doing it. No smoke and mirrors, no shell game with this council. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak?
Hello, my name is Lindsay Bricker. I'm the head coach for the high school swim team. I also am an assistant manager at the pool, and I help coach Heritage Valley Aquatics that Cindy mentioned a few minutes ago. So I'm fairly involved in the swimming aspect of Fillmore. I'm stepping in today to kind of just address the closing of the pool and ask you guys not to close the pool. I just want to bring attention to the fact that it's not just a small number of lap swimmers that use the pool. Our high school swim team last year was 35 kids, and that was the biggest number we've ever had. It was huge. This year, at one point, we had 98 swimmers. Right now, our final roster is at 67 that are competing. We have enough kids that we're winning swim meets. We have a huge increase in the interest in the sport. These kids are actively trying to start water polo programs. And these are programs and things that I think we could do at the pool to help kind of offset the costing. I understand the financial situation that we find ourselves in, but I think there are other ways to approach it other than closing the pool down that could help us kind of offset some of the expenses that we have for the pool, the cost of chemicals and water and that sort of thing. Closing the pool would affect these kids in just such a negative way in this community. If you're trying to build a community and your people are coming in thinking that maybe we'll buy a house here and you see an empty pool, that to me is not a community where I would want to raise a family. That's not somewhere that I want to be. So I just want you guys to kind of, I'm sure you will think about it seriously, but this affects the high school, this affects everything. So it's a low impact sport. It's therapeutic for all of our athletes, not just swimmers, but football players, baseball players, not just the athletes, but people in the community. We have, a large number of senior citizens, and this is something that they can use, utilize the swimming pool for knee injuries or, you can't run anymore. Swimming is good for it. I also wanted to point out we do have some swimmers here today, and they didn't know about this meeting. We didn't know this was on the agenda until last night. My swimmers didn't know about it until a couple hours ago. Had we had a little more notice, I can guarantee you would have had all 67 kids in here ready to just raise heck. But I do want to thank them for coming to support this, well, not support this, but support me in not supporting this. We have a booster club, Lions Club, a lot of people in the community, parents and students that have invested money in this pool. You guys have invested money in the pool. And it's one of the best facilities in the county. And it would be an absolute shame and a disservice to this community to close this pool down. So I'm just asking that you guys give it more time and try to come up with some other solutions instead of just outright shutting it down. So that's it.
Thanks, Lindsay. So, come on up. Is there anybody else? Sure.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Villa. I am a Fillmore High School swim team member. I would just like to express thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the board, for hearing me out. I personally have dealt with many injuries in my life, just out of clumsiness and because of a chronic illness. And swimming is practically the only sport that I am able to participate in. I cannot run anymore, I cannot hop, I cannot run, I cannot jump, it's painful. And so as the only sport, because of bad knees, I've had to go out to therapy. Swimming is an excellent therapy. Because of swimming, I have now been able to jog periodically. Because of swimming, I've been able to strengthen myself. Because of swimming, it's been a whole turn. I have more energy, I have been able to get out and participate in the community, which is another reason you see me here. Also, it's in order to keep fit. Former Governor Schwarzenegger's challenge to keep fit, he challenged the children of California high schools to participate in academic, and not only academic courses, but also to get fit. Go out there an hour a day. Also, as Coach Lindsay said, last season we had about 30 swimmers. This season has doubled to 60, 67. And please consider the impact of future swimmers. My sister and myself also participate in Heritage Valley Aquatics, and we have club swimmers that are coming up, and they're strong swimmers. Please consider that. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a bit long. It's also a life-saving skill. We live in California. We go to the ocean, and sometimes people go into the ocean and they don't know how to swim. That is a safety issue. It can save someone's life just to know how to float. Let's see what else. It is the pride and joy of Ventura County swimmers. As soon as another high school steps into the Fillmore swimming area, they see the beautiful pool, the glittering of the water, the landlines. And their faces go into shock and awe because their pools are, well, a little bit dated, to say it nicely. Let's see what else. I am aware of the financial difficulties the city is facing. However, I would like for the city to reconsider the cuts to the Fillmore swimming pool and the city to please reevaluate the impact to the community and school aquatic program in Fillmore and Ventura County. Thank you.
I just had a quick question. Will the closure of the pool be addressed in the next item? Or would this be the proper time to express my concern with that?
I do have some more pool speaker cards for the next item, 8C.
Okay.
So you can wait for that. And then as we move forward with our budget process all the way through May, June, July, there will be more opportunities to.
Okay, I think we all want to go on, so I'll wait.
Okay.
I have a question. How many people specifically are here about the pool? Would you raise your hand? Okay, thank you.
Well, I will say, I don't think anybody up here is in favor of closing down the pool. Unfortunately, there may be some difficult choices we have to make. We don't know what they're going to be yet, but just be aware that there's a lot of pain that has to be shared by the entire community. So, it's nothing that anybody wants to do here is close down the pool. We recognize what a great asset it is to the community and to the students who use it. It's a shame that if we would have to close it. So we're going to do our best not to, but I can't promise anything at this time. I will make a comment to the finance director. You know, one of the things I noticed in the pool and rec expenses we lost went down like 20,000, you said, from user fees went down like 20,000 because there were less people signing up. And I would think that that's a direct impact of raising the fees last year. So, although it sounds counterintuitive or counterproductive, maybe lowering the fees would help increase revenue too. So, just a thought. But just be aware that nobody wants to close down the pool, but it could be something that we have no control over. And something we might be forced to do.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Yvonne, are we receiving any revenue from the Fillmore School District for the usage of the swim pool?
We have a joint use agreement with them. So technically, I don't think that they give us any revenue for using the pool because we use their facilities, they use our facilities, and no one gets charged for them.
It was my understanding that previous years they did. And it's my understanding in the last couple of years is when, I don't want to use the word refusal, but there hasn't been receiving any funds. Can we double check the user agreement? Can we see it? Can you email it to us? And
Sure,
facilities of theirs are we using?
Yeah, good question.
Well, why don't we just get the agreement rather than, at this moment, can't cite them offhand, but we do have a joint use agreement, and in joint use agreements, it's typical throughout California, and they have them so that people can use each other's facilities. So we just need to use.
Okay, so you'll provide us information on that, and it won't hurt to ask. I know the school district has issues too with their budget, but I think it would be a benefit for them to share in the cost.
And not intent on any point to be sarcastic, but they use our swimming pool. Did they pay for a gate or something to come in, or only we have to pay for that gate? For the use of the entrance of the
Well, I think you need to think about this too, because right now we just received $7,000 for a gate for the use of the track, which belongs to the school. And that's part of the joint use agreement.
There's a gate that's already built into the pool facility that's between the school district and the city. And so the high school swim team accesses the pool through that gate.
Yeah.
It's already there.
Yeah, no, that wasn't my point. My point is, my point is that the public is going to be using the track through, monitored use of this gate, okay? And so the school, which is the public, is using our pool. That's what a joint use agreement is. So before we start trying to collect fees from them, they might want to turn around and say, well, we'll collect fees for the track, and then we're, it's a catch-22 thing. You see, so we need to think, I think your excellent idea about sponsorship is probably the way to go here.
I think we need to start looking for revenue outside of the normal type of revenue. I think we have cut what we could cut. And we need to start looking, but we need to start looking, like 6 months ago, not in 6 months. Right. I believe that we need to start looking right now. And I have mentioned this privately, and I'm going to make it public right now. I was not a big supporter of the pool when the whole thing was built. I was not. But we have it right now, and we need to find the way to keep it running for you guys. But we need to work together. Right. Because it's not our job here only to find this money. So we need to work together to do this. Now, the other thing that I'm a little concerned is that if we're going to build this and having these people coming in and looking at our properties and going around and basically sell marketing space, we need to be ready right now. And I think that the planning department might be ready. I haven't seen that they're going to be ready in like 10 minutes after this. I'm very impressed with that department personally. But we need to move forward to authorize, and I don't know if we're ready to have a motion, but we need to move forward to authorize the city to start looking for those sponsors tomorrow morning. I've been working with a company which I brought in and introduced it to the finance director, and I talked to them this morning. They're looking, really looking hard and trying to come into the city, and I told them, and I'm going to need $70,000 a year for that swimming pool, and they appear to be interested in it. But we need to work this together, and I think that we need to give authorization to the city, to our staff, to start looking to those sponsors right now.
Just to be clear, we need the council's help on that, because in terms of finding sponsors, it comes down to, we're trying to deal with the successor agency, get the budget done, and keep the city going. And so we need your help and the community's help in terms of finding those sponsorships. It can't rest just on staff. We need the community and the council to help with that charge.
Absolutely, and I'm willing to.
Yeah, we'll do our part.
to do that.
We agree that. So here's the question you asked, Mr. Gonzalez, is that do we need some sort of council direction to approve?
We have motions that we have, other motions we have to vote first.
Well, no, we're still in this conversation, so I'm going to bring it up. So the deal is, do we, even as part of these resolutions we need to pass, do we have a caveat? Can we legally have a caveat? Because this is the mid-year budget, right? So I would think if we had direction, could we have a motion to have direction that we would explore looking into sponsorships?
Sure, has that direction already.
Well, no.
You can make it as a motion.
Okay, why don't you do the motion? I'm sure I did.
Therefore, my motion is to authorize the city. Obviously, the city will be working together on this. To authorize the city to start looking for sponsors in all our parks, for the swimming pool, for the fire truck, for whatever we can find funds for. And if somebody wants to put a little sign and pay $100,000 a year, hey, okay with that. But it needs to be such an open thing that we can obtain these funds back and maintain our so my motion is to authorize the city to start looking for sponsors for all the parks, for the swimming pool. I dare to say city hall, but better not. For whatever other ways of bringing revenue, private revenue to the city.
You second it? We're not directing the staff to do it.
Okay.
Okay, we're clarifying that, right?
Correct.
That the city, as and elected officials and the public, because you're the city, that we're announcing that we need this and we're looking for sponsorships.
And perhaps we can engage with our fellow high school students and see if they could, pitch in here. I know they have their schedules jam-packed with sports and school, but let's try to work on this. But yes, I would like to co-sponsor this. I did bring this up months ago, and it's either do or die. So yes, we can do it.
So is that a second?
Second, yes, second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Now, we also have a resolution.
One more thing, that I also want to leave our community informed on this, and I have to be very careful. I need to be very careful how I come over this. But we also, we're not closing our hands. It's just waiting for money to come down. City manager and the finance department and us, we've been working with finding the ways that we can collect some of these taxes, old revenues that have been held by BOE. We've been working and we're coming really, ideas are coming one way to another to be able to do that. So please be assured to the community, be assured that we continue working and be able to fix the problem, and this is not something that we're going to just let pass and whatever. We continue working, and I think there are good signs that people are willing to work with us. That was my comment.
I have a resolution. I want to move that we receive the 2012-13 is that right? 2011 to 12? You have 2012-12 here. It's 2011. I'm reading off the blue sheet. I move that we receive the 2011-2012 mid-year budget review, adopt resolution 12330,
333 approving and adopting a mid-year budget for the fiscal year 2011-12, and authorize the city manager to, or designate to make recommended budget adjustments with the caveat that we do not close the swimming pool. No, this is my motion, and then you can discuss it. That we do not close the swimming pool within the next 8 months. Does that get you through this?
Well, item 8C is when we're going to talk about how to reductions in service levels.
I know, but no, I'm putting in on this one.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. This is a voice vote. Councilman Gonzalez?
Yes.
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 No. And I'm not saying no because I don't want to keep the pool open. I'm saying no because I wanted to keep that resolution separate. Okay. Motion passes. And now we're going to move on to
Which you got in mind?
to item 8C, which is information regarding fiscal year 2012 budget and potential mid-year reductions, and requesting feedback to staff regarding service levels and the fiscal year 2013 budget, and adopt resolution 123331 declaring a fiscal emergency.
Well, it sounds like we've got some good direction a little bit early on the 2013 budget. Before I get started on my presentation, I wanted to just go over a few things and maybe clarify what we're looking for, what we're doing tonight with the mid-year and my presentation is starting the conversation early about the budget. Because usually what happens is that the city manager presents their budget to the city council at the end of May, early June, and then we have a series of hearings about that. But obviously, because of the financial situation we're in, we wanted to start and have this conversation early with the council and with the residents and with the staff to say, this is where we are and where do we go from here? What services are priority services? How do we jointly solve this problem? As Vice Mayor Brooks said, this is the third year that I'm coming before you to talk about the financial problems that the city has. This has been very difficult on everyone, on residents, on the council, on the staff. And we've talked about this before. This confluence of events is a once-in-a-lifetime happening, but the problem is that it's all happening in our lifetime and we have to deal with it. So I also met with, as an aside this morning, I met with the staff and I went over the mid-year fiscal with them and told them what was coming and what to expect. And so with that, we'll begin. One of the questions, you saw this slide in Linda's presentation, and this question was asked at one of the prior council meetings, and it keeps coming up, so I hope that we can put it to bed tonight. And also, if people have questions, you can refer them to this presentation. It will be both, actually Linda's and mine, it will be up on the website. The question that we keep getting asked is, why did the city have money and then now it doesn't seem to have money? What happened? Okay, you see in fiscal year 2009, you see the green is represents the revenue, and we had a surplus. The last 3 years, we've been making cuts because we don't have revenue. And in the past, we've talked about, and in fact tonight, Glenda talked about the city has been living off of its carryover in order to, and drawing down from the reserves in order to balance the budget. But now we're going to go into the specifics of that. Okay, why did the city have, why did we have money and now we don't? In fiscal year 08-09, the state overpaid us the triple flip, which is sales tax in lieu, of $3.7 million. In fiscal year 09-10, then they took back $1.1 million, and because of that overpayment, and then they just didn't give us the property tax and or motor vehicle in lieu. In fiscal year 07-08 and 08-09, the city was also overpaid $2.9 million in sales tax. And that's that amount that we've been talking about that we put off to one side. And then we, in 09-10, the state also took $440,000 from us as a loan in order to balance their budget. And that's again something we talked about tonight. So the additional revenue that the city had in those years was related to sales tax and overpayments of the sales tax triple flip and the estimated sales tax. And so they paid more money than they should have, but then in the subsequent years, they have taken it away, and so that's what happened to the additional money. It was an overpayment that had to be corrected, so the state took away money, and then they overpaid us on sales tax in another part. That's the money we've been drawing down on. And then we also had to pay them $440,000 because they needed a loan to balance their general fund. That money, as Glenda said, is scheduled to be repaid this fiscal year. So that's why.
When you say this fiscal year, you're
2013. It's budgeted in this next upcoming budget. Okay. So what are the issues now? We have three main issues. We have a budget gap of approximately $1 million between ongoing general fund expenses and revenue, and we can't afford our current service levels. We have the elimination of the RDA by the state. It used to provide $864,000 for general fund services, and when the RDA was eliminated, it left a hole in our budget. Exactly what that hole looks like is hard to tell right now, but it's in the range of $300,000 to $400,000. And then we've also had some Board of Equalization decisions on the sales tax appeals that we've had to repay out of our sales tax, which has left us in a negative position. Now, in her presentation, Glenda talked about owing approximately $425,000 this year and about $1.5 million next year. And the primary result of that is, again, those DOE Board of Equalization decisions. Now, the city has been trying to get that money repaid. We paid out money to the sales tax brokers, and so we're trying to get that money repaid to help reverse that negative $425,000. And last week we had a meeting with some of the principals that in that sales tax economic development agreement to try and come to some sort of understanding about that. The city made its case, and we are waiting for an answer from the brokers and and the business that they're working with. So we are hopeful that we will be able to get that $425,000 repaid, but we do not have a firm commitment at this time. Regardless, even if we get the $800,000 that's owed repaid, is not going to take away the deficit for next fiscal year. So we still have to deal with that deficit, and that deficit could be anywhere from, 1 million, 1.1, 1.3, up to $1.5 million, and that's not counting paying back the money that those other funds owe. So a natural question is, okay, well, what has the city done to date? Well, you all know, because we've all been living it for the past 2 years, going into a 3rd year. But some people that may be watching at home may not be as up to speed on it. So over the last 2 years, the city has cut $2.9 million and used reserves to balance the budget. When I say reserves, what that means is one-time funds. That general purpose reserve that Glenda is talking about, that we've been drawing down from that. So our general fund over the last 2 years has decreased 40%. That is huge. That is huge. We've cut services, and just one example, recently it was the motorcycle officer. The city used to have a motorcycle officer, and that was one of the budget cuts for last fiscal year. We've laid off 13 employees over the last 2 years, and that doesn't count cutting some of the other temporary staff members. Those of us that remain have taken an 18.5% pay cut. And we've also tried to raise revenue by increased user fees, and we also put a temporary sales tax on the ballot, which didn't pass. So the city has, and the council has, over the last 2 years, has been trying to heal that structural imbalance that we have in our general fund. And we're on the last leg of doing that this year. And naturally what happens when you get down to the 3rd year, it means that all the difficult decisions are left to, all the easy or quote unquote easy things have already been done, and it's the difficult things that are left for us and the council to decide on. Okay, where do we go from here? So we're going to need up to $1.5 million for next year. So we're looking at, realistically, we are looking at more layoffs. And perhaps we have to go to creating some part-time positions to deal with that. We also need to look at operational or service changes to free up time for other necessary services. We can talk about closing parks or restrooms during the week and just having them open on the weekend. We can talk about contract services, and we can also, there are trash pickup services that are currently done with city staff that maybe we get that function done in a different way. We also are looking at going to safety only kinds of tree trimming and code. Code is also used to be funded by the redevelopment agency. We are able to fund a little bit through what's left of the RDA or the successor, but really there's a general fund component to that. So at some point in this next budget cycle, we're gonna have to talk about that. And also, obviously, we just don't have money for street repair, at the general fund money for street repair at this time. So more layoffs and creating part-time positions and looking at some operational and service changes to free up time. Police, we will have to, we met with the sheriff and the chief in February. We're looking at more reductions that we're going to need to make. And I want to compliment Chief McGrath because she has been done an amazing job of getting grants for the city. As you know, she was able to help reinstate the SRO this year through grants and COPS grants. And The other thing is that just in the last, actually less than a week, they got another grant for 2 years for gang prevention for $140,000. So she's been very, very good at getting monies made available for Fillmore, and I really appreciate it. For fire, we're looking at another $25 reduction to the paramedic stipend. And we also wanted to update you on the county AMR paramedic services. Because of their own budget problems, the county is planning to relocate the paramedic out of the Fillmore station on Telegraph. And when call volume gets heavy, the AMR actually goes to Santa Paula and stays there. And so, kind of the point being, we definitely need to keep our own paramedic services to provide services for Fillmore residents because of the fact that the county is reducing its level of service, and when the volume gets heavy, the ambulance is going to Santa Paula. We've talked about increasing volunteerism. You know, Fillmore is a very generous community, and it's been able to accomplish a lot. For example, tonight there was the gate that the city fronted the money, and people were, and in fact, council members sitting here were responsible for helping get donations to reimburse the city. The senior center had the door installed through a grant from the Bell Center. The containers on Central Street, all donation. And people, the Seroptimists helped to clean the bike path. And at a council meeting a little while ago, the council said that they would be willing to volunteer space here at City Hall for a volunteer coordinator. And it's a volunteer coordinator, just to be clear. So I think that that is a way that Fillmore can help to meet its obligations, or maybe do some of the things through tapping the resources of the community. And we just talked about the pool. We'll look forward after the meeting. Cindy, I'm sure we'll be working with you, and I would love to know who we're going to be working with as far as the students. We'd like to have a representative, and they'll be responsible for helping us to work with the business and other potential sponsors. I'm sure that they will have that great ideas. And then for the next 8 months, we will keep the pool open. But I will say that if it turns out that depending on the level of our cuts, $77,000 is roughly equivalent to a position. In fact, maybe slightly more than a position, and that's what it amounts to. We talked about utility billing. It's not the general fund. However, we want to review and analyze the accounts, and then we'll be back to the suggestions in May. And one of those suggestions may be a lean process, because as we discussed earlier, if people are not covering their share of costs, it actually is all falling back on everybody else. So when those we're not collecting, then what ends up happening is that all the other ratepayers end up, because there are fixed costs, and the other ratepayers end up having to cover those costs. So that's an important issue, and we'll be back to you with some suggestions in May. So the recommendation is that you provide feedback to us, and that you adopt resolution 12331 declaring a fiscal emergency.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Gordon?
Fiscal emergency, did you say fiscal emergency, crisis emergency?
This is the same process that we used last year.
Right.
Right. and we're.
So what does that mean legally, I guess is what I'm saying? What's the point?
It helps us to move ahead and do the things that it makes it obvious to everyone, where we stand financially, and lets us move ahead in trying to address those issues.
I am a little bit concerned on declaring a physical emergency, especially on the terms of the negotiations that we're doing with, some other partners that we have with the city and contracts we have with them, such as the one we had last week. Will you say that declaring this may actually send a wrong message to these people that we're trying to work with?
No, because, no, I don't. Declaring a fiscal emergency is a critical step in moving ahead to do some of the things that the city needs to do. We do have very challenging financial circumstances. That doesn't mean that we're not going to be able to resolve them, but with looking at up to a $1.5 million deficit next year, and with all the cuts that we've made already, it's going to be a big challenge. And with our hope is with the resources in the community, it's going to take a combination of things to again close that gap. And we'll be looking to the reserves again to try and assist in that. But first, we're going to try and get everything else that we can use to help make that amount smaller. But we will probably look at the reserves, but declaring the fiscal emergency is just one piece of making that process work.
Thank you.
I do have some speaker cards. Thank you. We'll probably bring you back up when we have some discussion. Esteban Casas? Okay. Esteban, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilwoman, members, and citizens. I am Esteban Casas. I reside at 938 Hill Lane, and I'm here to express my concerns about the possible closure of our city pool. First, I want to second what Lindsay Berger said about people not knowing about this. I can assure you that if people knew about this, a lot more people would be here in support of trying to not have this pool be closed. With that said, the Fillmore Aquatic Center is a great asset to our community. It took a tremendous amount of work from citizens and council members to build the pool, 9 years. I remember being a junior in high school and just when I first saw water in that place that was so desolate, it was just amazing. And since its opening, it's greatly served the city of Fillmore. It's helped keep our community safe by offering swim lessons. It's brought the sport of swimming back to Fillmore by tripling the size of our high school team. I remember being in 8th grade and seeing only a club team with less than 20 people, and now there's over 60 people on the team. And it's great recreation, it's great fun for all families here in Fillmore. And lastly, it offers jobs for our citizens here in Fillmore. And I really want to thank Councilmember Brooks and Councilmember Gonzalez for supporting this and supporting this collaborative effort of citizens and the city staff to find sponsors, because I really want to see this pool thriving. I want to come back here with my family when I'm settled to here and say this is here because of me and because of all of our work. It is the jewel of our city. I remember being on the Fillmore High School swim team and all of our competitors being so so in awe. I'm just so
Jealous.
yes, so jealous that we have this amazing pool. Yeah, it's awesome. So to conclude, I hope you really consider not closing the Fillmore Aquatic Center. It's open primarily to serve our community, to better our community. And with facilities like this, they just need time to grow. It's only been 3 years. So please consider this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. And I did want to point out that in all the staff recommendations, closing the pool really wasn't one of them. So
Okay.
it might be better to come back during the regular budget hearings. Cindy Blatt?
Hi, I'm Cindy Blatt. I live at 1186 Oak Avenue. And thank you, Madam Mayor and the council. I had a lot more written down, but a few things happened, and so I did want to say that I hope you've thought about, if you do close the pool down at some point, that you have thought about the fact that there's a parcel tax measure out there, and you would probably have to rescind that, which means there would not be a stream of income coming in, which means that I doubt the city would ever reopen the pool. So you would be abandoning a $4.whatever million facility. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but in a short discussion with Scott Lee, he thought I was right about rescinding the parcel tax measure. The other thing is you talked about the police chief getting grants, and I very quickly Googled recreation grants in California and came up with a list of about 6 entities that I think we can get grants from. Usually they are for programs, but until somebody starts sitting down and looking, you don't really know what's out there. The LA 84 Foundation is a foundation formed after the 84 Olympic Games and the surplus from that, and they still exist and they still have a lot of money. Anyway, I think that's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. Those were some good points. I do appreciate that point about the parcel tax, and that would be a concern. And then the grants too. That was going to be one of my recommendations for staff. I do have a question for you, Cindy, if you wouldn't mind coming back up. On these particular grants here, I know some of the challenges that the city has with getting grants. They have so many matches and strings attached to them. Now, are you a nonprofit? Do you have a nonprofit?
I'm not part of anything. I mean, I'm no longer coaching, and
okay.
That is the whole point, is that I wouldn't be able to. I could maybe approach some organizations, but they're not going to really.
Some of the swim teams couldn't be. They're not nonprofits.
No, swim teams can be nonprofit.
Okay. Well, that's where I was going with that. I think sometimes those organizations have to initiate the grants, and then the city can partner with them to kind of.
The last one on the USA Swimming Foundation, I believe that the Make a Splash Local Partner Grant is basically for a program like swimming lessons.
Local government?
Right. But I know there's a lot of issues about grants. I don't know very much about them.
Mm-hmm.
I know a long time ago when we were trying to get the pool built before I looked into things, but you know, the chief got grants, there's stuff out there, I think.
Right. Thank you. Okay, my next speaker is Ms. Vanessa Villa.
She's not here, but can I take her place?
Sure, Lindsay.
Sorry. So, Lindsay, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what Cindy was saying. I mean, I can't speak for the school district, but I'm going to try. I can almost guarantee that at least for the swim team, we can, I know some of those grants do have stipulations and you have to be nonprofit, but that is something, if I have contact information when I leave here, I don't know who I would need to be in contact with city-wise, but I would be happy to help you guys out with that, because those are things that I was looking into myself for just the swim team specifically, but because I didn't know this was a huge issue, but having the facility is more pressing than having bags for my kids. So, so I am willing to help out with that.
Would she contact Annette or you?
Well, Annette will be the person that will, I'll give her my information.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. But I wanted to kind of address Amy Vaughn's presentation here. She mentions on page 5, she recommends one of the alternatives to closing the pool is to reduce the months or hours of operation. And just throwing it out here so it's something to think about. I actually, it might sound counterproductive, but just being somebody that has been working at pools for years, I actually think that while the pool is open and you are paying for heating and it's ready to go, it might be better and beneficial to you, although not in a huge way financially. Everything helps, to offer more programs and to increase the hours of operation, as long as you are offering programs that people would be interested in. So I would just like to suggest that, I work at the pool. If we had somebody at the city that was actively trying to pursue this and working with the pool staff, I'm sure our lifeguards would be happy to work more hours, and that's something that could bring in some more money. And it's just something you could try, at least for a little while. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work and you pull the plug on it. But I think that also, it increases the use of the pool and community awareness about the pool, and it all kind of just works together and helps out. But that's just, I thought that reducing would be not what you need to increase, although that might sound counterproductive, so that was just fine. Okay.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's true. And unfortunately, the situation we have with staff is that we have nobody to design new programs. We're so short-handed right now. We lost too many people.
So is that something that, like, the pool managers?
Excuse me for one moment. We had worked with the pool managers in trying to figure out and Cindy figuring out which programs would work, and so some of them didn't work, and so those were cut back, and so I know that Annette has been working, and in fact the swim committee, Patty Walker was on that, and so was Jamie. We looked at the kinds of activities that the city was providing in terms of lessons, and but there was a problem with, I think we were having one-in-chief people with some of the sessions, and so that session was discontinued. So the work has been done though with Lori and Cindy.
I address what you're getting here. I know that those things have been done. I know we have offered water polo classes and things like that, but the way I see it is that when they were offered, we had a swim team of less than 20 kids, and we're at 67, and every day these kids are asking for water polo programs. So I'm saying that now the interest is there, now the numbers are there, now is when you want to reevaluate and try those things again. And you may have worked with Cindy in the past, but Cindy hasn't worked at the pool for a while. So it is just from as long as I've been there, which hasn't been that long, but I haven't seen anything come through kind of trying to reevaluate that. I'm just pushing that. I think it should be reevaluated. And all due respect, I think figuring out what programs and things might work for the pool might best come from people that are familiar with aquatics. So I think the aquatic staff, or at least the managers, should be involved in that process a little more if you're going to read.
The manager has been involved.
And all due respect to Lori, Lori is not, has not been around aquatics as much as some of our other staff members. So just kind of maybe extending it to the aquatic staff might help that.
Okay.
couple suggestions, if I may. Lindsay,
Sure.
couple things, in my point of view. If we're trying to build a program, this is what you guys need to do. One, build a program, prepare the cost, and you have to make more money than what your cost is to be able to keep the pool open. So if you guys have ideas how to figure it out, bring it on. You know, bring it on. I'm pretty sure that our department is ready to move on. Bring it on, because you have to bring more money than what your expenses are. Now, we also talked to be a volunteer, and that's one of the ideas. I'm pretty sure that, yes, anybody would like to put more hours. I also would like to see some of us put in a little more hours as a volunteer. Not a whole thing, but maybe some of us as a volunteer to be able to develop those programs until we start making a lot of good funds to be able to do what we need to do.
Sure,
And thirdly, you know, when you guys get together, there's so great people in our community that you guys can create a nonprofit organization that will write all these grants and be sure that we have the funds to be able to do this. I think all these ideas combined. Talk to different people. Cindy has ideas. We have ideas. You have ideas. Help us putting all these things together.
Right, that's what I'm here offering, is I want
Exactly.
to collaborate with it.
Work with the staff, work with the departments, and work with these ideas, put them all together and bring it so we can help together doing this. Look into the possibility of creating a non-profit organization that will be able to write those grants and start getting this money like right away to be able to keep that within the next 8 months.
Absolutely.
It's a very short period of time that you're going to have to be able to do all this.
So I'm contacting you and or Annette.
Well, I'll just give, if you give me your information, then I will give it to Annette, but I'll also give you mine so that if something gets lost in the translation, you can contact me directly.
Okay.
Thanks, Lindsay. Is there anybody?
Lindsay, if you have 60 people, you got 60 people in this club?
In our club? 67.
Do you call it club? What do you call it?
Well,
Team?
it's technically, we have a club and.
Okay, so you got 67, so you got momentum. So you ask them if they want to have a polo club, and you tell them sign up, put their money where their mouth is. It's going to be $10 or $15, and then you figure out how much it costs to have a lifeguard and or staff, and then it's going to depend if it's $15, $20 or something. And if you get, there's going to be some critical mass number that would break even. Okay, so as far as
So if we can find the staff that's required to do it.
yeah, as far as we're concerned, we like use pool,
Right.
but we cannot afford to pay for it anymore. We're going to look at how to even keep it open. So if you got that kind of critical mass already in people, you're going to have to, and you get a team. And I think we're in agreement that we're pretty open to that.
Okay, that sounds good. That's what I meant by try it and see if it works so that we can balance budget, and if it doesn't, then that's something we'll put back on. So
You mentioned
I think we're on the same
something that we have a jewel. I'm sorry to tell you that we can't afford the jewel. So we need to, it was a statement that said that, but we can't afford the jewel. Let's find the money because there are people there willing to help us do that.
Right, that's why we're here though today, all of us to
Excellent.
tell you we're here to help you find them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I think that the parcel tax only brings in, is it 60,000? 67,000, and that's not enough to operate it. I don't know that it was intended to operate the pool. I guess it was just going to be a small subsidy, but it clearly was not enough. So anyway, just an FYI.
leaves a question.
So the 77,000 we need is in addition to the 67.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that in case people wonder.
That's the gap, the 77,000 is the gap between revenues and expenditures.
Okay. Yvonne, I do have a couple of questions for you on your recommendations or suggestions. On the closing the parks, restrooms during the week, can you tell me what does that consist of? When somebody goes and opens the park and closes the park, is that like a two-man job, and does it take 4 hours a day, or what does it consist of?
Well, first of all, when I'm suggesting that, I'm tossing out ideas to get us all thinking about how we might meet that, the $1.5 million challenge. In terms of the parks have I'm not talking about fencing off the park. Some cities do that when they close their park, but there are gates that we possibly may not open. Most of the use of the parks occurs in the evening, for sports. I think it would be more practical just to not do the restrooms and just open those on weekends when the traffic is heavier, because cleaning the restrooms, depending on what's happening, even during the week, can take the staff up to, depending on, for example, if there's been some vandalism, as we've had over here, it can be as easy as taking an hour and a half to clean the restrooms, or it can be 4 more hours if there's been a lot of vandalism there. So it just depends. And doing that during the week, if we close the restrooms, that's one thing that doesn't have to be done, and that means that that person can be doing something else at that time, using that time for some other purpose.
Okay. I can't see depriving people of using restrooms though. So, if anybody ever happens to see any vandalism occurring at the restrooms or at the parks or any facilities, I will hope they would contact the sheriff's department. Okay. And then contract services. What kind of contract services did you have?
Well, this is something that has to be discussed in negotiations, but we might talk about janitorial, custodial services. It may be that there are some other kinds of services related to water that we could contract out. And I'm not necessarily talking about the operation of the plant, but maybe meter reading, utility billings, and collection. It just depends, but mostly I'm looking at things like, at this point, custodial kinds of work. Perhaps if we can find someone to maintain the pool without having to do it ourselves, using our own staff, that would be another area we'd like to look at.
Okay.
Those are just 2. Setups, we have staff that we use for setups at the Memorial Auditorium as well as the Senior Center, and maybe what we would do is use contract extra help for that purpose. But that's all stuff that's negotiable.
Got to think, yeah. Got to kind of think of everything, every possibility. Trash service. So, yeah, grants, I think should be something that we could look at. Obviously, Monica's done a good job of getting grants for us. And I know it takes a staff person to even search for grants and apply for them and administer them. So that's a problem. Although I have heard that there are people within the community who have the expertise to write grants that wouldn't charge an upfront cost, that they would just take a percentage of the grant. So that might be something to look at. If anybody, I guess I can just put the word out, if there are any grant writers out there that think they can write grants that would benefit the city and would like a percentage of those grants to bring forth to the staff or the council. Community service. I had a brief email to Monica on, I think sometimes probationers have a requirement to do community service. And, you know, maybe some of the graffiti artists would be willing to help our graffiti cleaning staff and reduce the burden on them.
You know the problem with that?
No.
The problem is they need
Supervision.
to do it. It's quicker to do it yourself. I'm a person who supervised that, and I'm telling you, it's high supervision. So you have to, unless the volunteers, you get a volunteer to do that. Matter of fact, we do have a gentleman in the community who is a volunteer graffiti remover. So if you had volunteers to supervise, that would be a good idea. But if it is staff, then it would be cost effective. So that's a good idea with volunteers.
Well, we do have a citizens patrol. I hope members of the community have been signing up for the citizens patrol. Maybe they could supervise.
That's outside the box.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on these issues? Any ideas? I did have another on the spending controls. Yvonne wrote down continue spending controls. Utilities, I think, are only going to continue to go up. I'd like to see some attention paid to that. I know we recently got those energy saving devices, the lighting, that will help. Maybe some of our programmable thermostats, whatever. Fuel. I've noticed our fuel has been out of control. Not that anybody's using anymore, but just the cost of fuel is incredible right now. And maybe we probably won't have any capital money to buy any new vehicles with for a while, but when and if we do have money to replace vehicles, we should be looking at more fuel efficient trucks and cars for public works, fire, police, whatever. That's not cost effective.
Put them in the back for it.
So those are just a couple of. Oh, and negotiations with classified employees. I know the last couple of years employees have been paying more of their CalPERS and insurance, but maybe we would want to bump up.
Actually, we probably really should talk about.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Are we ready for a resolution?
I think Brian had a comment tonight.
Okay.
One other item I wanted us to bring up that we really want to slash when we get more into the figures of our legal item. I think that's something that we may want to entertain by slashing that even more. Until it was at 280,000. So that's something we may want to look at.
Okay.
You want a resolution? I move that we adopt resolution 123331 declaring a fiscal emergency for the city of Fillmore.
A motion. I'll second it. A motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There's four reluctant ayes.
Aye, aye, aye. That's an aye, aye, aye.
All right. So, I think we're on to number 9, committee, commission, and board reports. Anybody?
I went to a meeting of the band pool. That's a subcommittee of the transportation committee, and it's actually sort of new in California, but up and down California, they're state subsidized functioning van pools, and there's about, I think, 16 van pools in Ventura County area. And I'm not sure quite the number in Fillmore, but I think there's like 5 or 6. You might see these vans. It says van pool, okay, and they're actually taking a lot of cars off the highway, and this is brand new, and this just keeps increasing across the state. And so I attend the meeting, which is people from north of San Francisco to San Diego. We do it via phone because we don't want to travel anywhere, because we're trying not to travel. And but actually, it's very effective, and I was very impressed with a brand new birthing of this van pool operation. I'm going tomorrow to the Regional Sanitation Board meeting, and they're dealing with issues about the biosolid operation, which is functioning very well, but they had issues with their permit, to get their permit, air permit and whatnot done. They're doing everything correctly, but government takes a long time. Sort of like an unfunded mandate, you know, when they tell you to do something and you don't have enough time. But everything I hear is that the toll and landfill is exceptional. You go there, there's no trash, bags floating in the air or any of that type of stuff, and the bio solids, which is solid waste, okay, which is, what do you call it? I don't know, what do you call that? Solid waste. It's tree trimmings, all kind of stuff, okay, that are natural, and they're actually creating fuel out of it. And like what was presented today was that this is the only functioning plant in the United States that is producing correct product ongoingly. There are some that operate maybe 1 month, 2 months out of the year. This one does 12 months out of the year. But there are some issues with meeting all those permits, but they're doing it well. So that's my report on sanitation.
Did you want to talk about the meeting that Darren Kettle came to at the One Step?
Oh, wow, yeah. We attended a meeting of the transportation, and Mr. Kettle was the director of the Ventura County Transportation Commission. Came and explained about the bus system and the future of the bus system in Ventura County, and the future and the possibilities of running regularly scheduled full buses from Piru even on, and to increase the number of fixed routes. And so a lot of that's in flux. A lot of that is being negotiated now, and how that would look is probably going to change, and it will change for Fillmore. But the point is to try to get increased service, not decreased service. So we've been working hard at achieving that. You can add to that because you're in that meeting.
It's okay. Brian?
Last Thursday, I attended the EDC-VC General Meeting, and briefly, there was an announcement for April 14th, ABC Daycare will be having a handing of a check from EDC-VC. I have coordinated the Fillmore Chamber of Commerce to be in attendance, as well as a few council members and city staff. I believe it commences at 11 a.m. I will have to double check on that. There'll be a general invitation that'll be coming out, so I'll be forwarding that to all council members, city staff, and the Fillmore Chamber of Commerce.
Ron, what's the address?
I believe it's
808.
River. I
Church.
follow, well, it's
Yeah,
next to the
church.
Citrus Church.
Yeah.
It's right off by Surrey River, the corner of Surrey and River.
Yeah. Or across from Orange.
Yeah. Yes, pretty much near this.
I'm gonna be
This,
there. I'm looking forward to it.
Just briefly, this center will create estimated between 7 and 9 jobs in our community. So it's a good addition to our community. Child care, yes. On April 4th, 5th, and 6th, I'll be attending the SCAD conference in downtown LA. So I'll be bringing a report back with me. Last Thursday, I also attended the Fillmore Chamber of Commerce board meeting, and we've heard all the details of the Citizen of the Year and so on, and it was a great event along with that. So, and that was actually two Thursdays ago. So last Thursday was the awards dinner, so I apologize for the week of the hunt. So it was a great gathering. That's about it.
Eduardo, any committee reports?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, I don't either. So we're going to move on to item 10, and this is 10A is travel requests. Anybody have any travel requests? I did have a question. The League of Cities Legislative Action Days is April 25th and 26th up in Sacramento. Is anybody interested in going? It's when you have an opportunity to meet with your state legislators and ask them to advocate for us, get us more money or something.
If I would suggest that we send 2 members of the council on that, seeing our fiscal situation. I think we need to have our faces out there and trying to promote our city. So I know everybody's schedule is jam-packed.
Yeah, I
Seems
don't
to
know
be
that I can make it.
eager hands going up.
April what?
24th and April 25th and 26th.
I will be able to attend.
You will?
Yes.
Okay. Yvonne, are you interested in?
I will, I think it's important, and I'll try to attend. And part of it just depends on where we are.
Okay. Okay. Great. Item B is proposed items for placement on future agenda. Jamie, any items?
Somewhere down the line, I'd like to look at chickens.
Okay.
Just thought I would remind you.
I think that's on the list.
Yeah.
We're looking at April.
Brian?
Well, up until mid-afternoon, I had an item I wanted to request for the agenda, and I'm going to have to lay low on that one. But however, it has to do with the no-kill shelter that Santa Paula has adopted, SPARK. I believe that's the abbreviated term for it.
So you're going to bring it
Well,
back?
this is my request is I don't want at this time seeing the preliminary of information that Ms. Van Sickle has sent to me, and as I conveyed to other council members and city staff. I would still like for due diligence. Mrs. Van Sickle I hope I'm getting her name right, to still come to one of our meetings in the future and briefly discuss Spark and how it would affect Fillmore monetarily. Obviously, you know, their financial situation compared to ours is not remotely even close. So I don't want to waste city staff time, but I do want to make sure people in our community are informed on this matter. It's important to me because I feel that, especially this.
So you're asking that she get a
Yes.
presentation?
Yes, but it's something that we need to bring out there.
Okay, I think staff is good for that. Is that okay, Yvonne?
We'll work with them. She did want to come to public comment and make a pitch then. So we'll talk to her. I don't know what the outcome will be, but we will talk with her.
Okay. Thanks. Anything else, Brian? Eduardo?
I just would like to have a report from fire and police regarding the VC alert, how many people have been enrolled, how we're doing with this, how we continue pushing that up. Maybe for next year, it would be nice to have that.
Okay. I do have a couple of items. And Eduardo kind of brought this up when we were discussing the budget issues, and I would like to find a way for staff to consider how we can go about looking at our water recycling plant contract. I know we have a 20-year contract with American Water. However, when that contract was written, the flow rate was set, minimum flow rate was set at 1.3 million gallons per day. I believe that, I haven't seen a report in a while, but the last reports I saw were barely at 1 million gallons per day. There was no provision in that contract for a reduced flow rate. So I would like to either have some discussions with American Water or consider an RFP to go out and look at other bids if we can get that operating cost reduced based on the fact that we don't have the flow rates that were anticipated. So that's what I'm putting out there too.
So you want to investigate cost and alternatives?
Yes.
I would agree.
I will agree with that too.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, this was commented, you know, well before you were on the council about this issue, and I think yes, it should have been up in front of us beforehand, but now is the time. So yes.
Well, I will say that there is a provision in the contract to look at if there are ideas to lower costs. I think there's a provision in the contract to look at that. So
now, what about timing? I mean, I don't want to put all the burden on the staff in terms of, next month. They have to come up with a budget by June.
Right.
So what are we looking at?
A month, month and a half.
I would say after June. I would say after. I mean, you start the preliminary looking, but I wouldn't expect it. Do you think this would affect the budget?
It might.
You know, I think that really I think it would be productive to have a preliminary discussion with whoever wants, well, depending on the number, obviously we have to notice it, but to have that preliminary discussion with American Water, and then we can see, where do we go from there.
Thanks. The other item
Yes.
Yeah. I want to see if we can lower. The other item I wanted to ask the council about to put on the agenda, maybe the next agenda or the one after that, is we talked a little bit about volunteerism, and We do have office space to house a volunteer coordinator, and I would like the council to be able to discuss how we would go about that, you know, if we're going to have a job description. Obviously, it's not a paid position, but, and how we would recruit. I think there are so many people in the community who would be great at that. So I would like a recruitment process so we don't leave anybody, any possibilities out, so.
I will agree to that.
Okay, thank you.
I agree.
Yes.
All right. That's all I have on 10A, B, or C. Or actually, I did have one other thing. And this is just a council question. On the RETA revision request, will we be seeing that revision request letter before it goes out?
It went out.
It went out already? Okay, could we get a copy of it? Sure. Okay. All right, so I think we're done with our items here, and we're going to move into closed session. This is a conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, City of Industry and City of Livermore versus City of Fillmore. Are there any members of the public who would wish to comment on this before we go into closed session? Oh, better turn the page. Thank you. Then we have item 12B, which is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, El Dorado Estates versus City of Fillmore. Anybody want to comment on that? Are we expecting any announcements? No. Okay, so we're going to move into closed session. Thank you, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry, Glenda, did you?
Successor agency agenda?
We can't adjourn this. Okay, sorry about that. Thanks, Glenda. Okay, we're going to move over to the successor agency, formerly known as the RDA.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have items 6A, B, and C, the consent calendar. Public comments. Anybody for public comments? Okay. All right. So we have a consent calendar.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Have a motion to second. This is a voice vote. Councilman Brooks?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Done with that agenda. Place hearing date.
Oh, okay.
Rain.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Good night.